Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kings and queens, everybody. Welcome to the show. How's everyone week's going? It snowed here, gang. We had snow first of the year. At least for my location. Welcome back. Well, welcome to you, Coffee Margin. Yeah, I know we took yesterday off. I needed to reset and kind of plan some content, get things going, set up some debates for you guys for later to watch and see. I'm still in the process of that. We got some great content coming up on Thursday, though. That should be fun. You guys will enjoy that. Short Fat Otaku, Dev. You guys know Dev. He's been on the show enough. You're familiar with him. Dev will be doing a Dev versus the World panel where I bring on people who have issues with his takes, and you guys can come in and call in and take him to task for whatever it is that you disagree with him. Should be good. Should be fun. That's not today, though. That's Thursday. Today, did you guys see my Sunday show? Did you guys watch it? Did you guys hear about it? A lot of people have thoughts, okay? A lot of people have a lot of thoughts about how I conduct business. A lot of people have a lot of things to say on Reddit, on Twitter, in chats. And I figured, well, it's been a bit since we've done a call-in stream. So why not do a call-in stream to let all these people with so much to say to come in and have a conversation with me about it. Maybe get it off their chest a little bit. See what they have to say to me, to my face. It would be interesting to see. I don't know. It's one of those things where you can't win, okay? And I know, don't read the comments. Don't read the YouTube comments. Don't read all those things. But I do. I like to see what people say about me. I like to see you guys' input and feedback. Some of y'all are unhinged. Some of you are crazy. Kinetic Pause, thank you for the Prime sub on Twitch. Welcome, Twitchers. Okay. What was the topic? I missed it. Oh, don't worry, Short Stack Goblin. I'm not going to pull a max. I do read the Reddit, though, especially when it's about me. And yes, it annoys me, but I'm not going to go crazy over it. I'm not going to become an anti-fan. Why would I blame Destiny for something some unhinged loser in his chat says? I just don't do that, right? I have enough criticisms of what Destiny says all on his own. I don't need to add criticism by what members of his community say. I just don't care. I do keep that separate. So, no, someone who isn't on some SSRIs or something or deeply unwell, you can probably handle reading comments that are negative, and so I do so. Hector Reviews says, I believe Trump administration committed war crimes on those boat strikes in open sea outside of Venezuela. See, we're going to talk about that too as well. I have a lot of things to cover today. In fact, there's almost so much to cover that I won't be able to complain as much as I wanted to. Okay? Because I was going to complain a little bit. A little bit. I'll get it off my chest. We'll take a few calls, and then we'll get into the rest of what I have to say. Did you guys see that Casey Tron put out an apology video to Ethan Klein? I don't know if it's worth watching on stream. What are you thinking? It's not that long, but it's I don't know. Do you guys like that drama shit? I can't bring myself to care over much. Okay, cool. They apologized. It was like, if it was more grovelly, maybe I would have watched it, or I would have been more excited to watch it on stream or something. But it was just kind of a standard boilerplate thing. I don't know. Short Stack Goblin says, now shaming SSRI people because an ableist confirms someone do a thread. I'm able to make fun of whoever I like. Dusty Johnson's like, she caved, she is weak. Look, if I'm facing a lawsuit and I can get out of that lawsuit with making an apology video, you better believe I'm making an apology video. That's just a smart play. That's just a smart move. Why wouldn't you do that? If you can get off the hook for potentially thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of damages by swallowing your pride a little bit, making an apology video, by all means. I don't fault that at all. That's crazy. So yeah, I probably won't watch it on stream, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, she read from a letter, I guess, her lawyers wrote. It's out there, and if you guys wanted to check it out after we're done here, you certainly can. People got to be a little bit more petty than I am to really get too much joy or satisfaction over that. Oh. But yeah, on to my complaints, and then we will get into there's 3 things I want to cover today. Okay, I do want to cover my moderation and people with complaints about my moderation and my show and my stances. One of the things I'm going to cover. The second thing I'm going to cover is the reporting from Washington Post on Hegseth. The following report, the follow-up report by the New York Times, the statements by the White House, and how these things converge, what kind of picture they paint, what does it look like, right? The state of affairs when it comes to Venezuela. We're going to go over some of the statements on that. Should be interesting. And the third thing I want to cover is the Oklahoma University basically putting a professor on administrative leave, investigating claims of persecution and bias against a person's religious affiliation. So the story with that, just briefly, is that there was an assignment in a class to react to a news article or story. And the story specifically was about gender conformity in sports. We can read that story if you guys would like for context when we get to that point. But the student in question wrote an essay that we will read. It's not that long. That just didn't address the subject. It was a bad paper. And the professor failed her for this poor paper. Gave her a 0, in fact. This person then went to Turning Point Oklahoma University, the Turning Point USA chapter in that college, and raised a stink about it. And now the governor is involved, the college administration is involved, and they are claiming that she is under religious persecution for the grade that she received. So what we're going to do when we get to that portion of today's show is we're going to read the essay, and you, dear viewer, can decide for yourself what grade that essay deserved. Spoiler alert. If it didn't deserve a 0, it deserved close to a 0. It was a really bad paper. So I find no fault with the professor here. Yes, the essay is really bad. The rifle at the playground said after Lunarbox watched it being the apology video, he said he would have paid the $30K. I don't know. $30,000 is a lot of money, gang. That's a lot of money. Quite a bit, if you will. But yeah, so I want to talk about the Sunday show first. So first of all, a lot of you guys watched it. I saw Hutch covering it earlier. I saw some of his reaction. I saw Pisco covered it a little bit. I didn't watch a ton of that, but I saw some of his reaction. I know that a lot of people, Rakita Law actually reacted to it. I didn't see his reaction because it was like a members only thing, but he watched at least some of it. So it made the rounds. People People got eyes on it. So from that perspective, resounding success. Now, there's been some controversy and some criticism based on how I handled it. And it's funny because depending on who I listen to, I'm either a MAGA dick suck who cucked out to the right to placate them, or I am a Destiny dick writer who let him interrupt and destroy the panel. It really depends who you listen to. I'm like Schrodinger's moderator, and depending on I'm in a subliminal state or a liminal state where you never know whether I'm going to be a Destiny dick writer or a MAGA dick suck. It depends on who's observing me and when. I don't know. It's just crazy. But I wanted to talk about that because I wanted to kind of correct the record on what I do when it comes to moderation and the goals of my show and how I want to conduct my business. Because I think that a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what I am trying to do when I put together these shows. I'll state right out that I thought Soy Pill and Destiny interrupted far too much. I said that on the stream. I moderated that on the stream. But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do. Not if you want content. Okay. So I moderate for content, first and foremost. I want the show to be entertaining and interesting, mostly to me. Okay? If I'm bored with it, I won't do it. If I get bored with my show, I know that you, dear audience, are probably also bored with the show. I like the fast and loose style to an occasion, right? I don't like as many interruptions, but I also don't like, again, as an observer, having like strict collegiate debate rules. I don't watch that stuff because I find it boring. Okay? So that's one. So if you're mad that I didn't curtail all the interruptions and mute everyone as soon as the other side started to speak, there you go. I'm never going to do that. That's not what you're getting when you're coming on my show. If you want a show like that, there are plenty of other people you can watch. Actually, no. You know what? There's not a lot of other people you can watch because those shows fucking fail. Like there's maybe one show that does it like that. Maybe two other panel shows that does it like that. All the rests tend to fail because they tend to be boring as fuck. Okay? So you don't have a lot of options here when you want that. Why? Because it's not very good for entertainment. It just isn't. So that's one. The second criticism that a lot of people have levied my way is that I tried to let the right wing speak at all. A lot of you were mad that I kept wanting to have Andrew and Good Logic finish their statement before Destiny or the Soy Pill jumped in. And you said, well, no, they were saying something wrong. They had to be told that they were wrong right away. In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. One of the problems is that while the debater might know what the other person is going to say, the other person or the audience might not. And I think it's helpful to have the audience hear what the other side is going to say. And in addition, some answers take preamble. So what a preamble is when you, again, provide context for the answer you are about to give so that that answer can make sense. So if someone asks me, for example, hey, why didn't you mute Destiny when he started doing X, Y, and Z? There has to be some preamble for me to correctly and fully answer that question. And if I start on my preamble and you interrupt me 5 words in, all you had to do is wait and you were going to get an answer. Now, again, if they didn't answer the question directly, or if they said something like it's irrelevant or whatever, which they did on occasion, they didn't answer, or I should say, they didn't. There was a couple times they didn't answer the question. And that's fair to push them on it. That's perfectly all right to push them on it. But you got to let it happen. You got to let it play out. Just hold your damn horses. Be a little patient. Don't slaughter the cows immediately. Let it milk them a bit first. I don't know. $2 from Greggio87 says, "How come your beard is so luscious today?" It's just the weather, I guess. It's not. I need to trim up. I need to trim up, gang. But yeah, Wick lets them finish. I try to. I'm not perfect at it. And if you have criticisms of my moderation style, that's fair, right? I'm not a perfect moderator. I mean, no one is. But, I don't know. I think I do okay. I think my shows are fun. If I didn't think they were fun, I wouldn't put them on, gang. So that's my, I guess, some context, if you will, about how I run my show. My goals of the show, to be clear, are to make money and to have interesting conversations. Okay? I want to continue to make a living doing this, and I want to continue putting interesting people in a room together to have interesting conversations. Now, when I say interesting, it doesn't mean I agree with them. It means I think that they have an interesting point, especially sometimes if I very much disagree with that point, to be clear. Right? Especially if I think, wow, that's crazy. I want to get him in a room and talk to him about that crazy shit he just said. So yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to talk about topics that I find interesting, that I find entertaining, that I want to run my mouth off about, right? That I want to see what other people have to say about. That's how I choose my topics. Mercado Media, thank you for the raid. 19 Mercadians? Mercs. I'm not sure what you guys call yourselves. But yeah, so that's that when it comes to my moderation. So if you have an issue with it and you want to call in about it, now's the time. We're going to take a couple calls and we can talk about it. Let me bring it up. Hello, you're live.
Hello there. Yeah, I saw Short Fat.
Go on.
So,
you're here.
Sorry, audio is just a little messy. So yeah, I was watching Short Fat Otaku like a couple days ago on the stream.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't wait for the big event on Thursday.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, on Thursday we're going to have a Dev versus a World, Short Fat Otaku versus a World. So if you have an issue with anything he said, a take he has had, any of his issues, just feel free to tune in. Mercado Media raid on YouTube as well. Welcome, Mercadians, Mercados, all that. But anyway, so yes, Short Fat Otaku. What else would you
I
like
think
to know?
he is. I don't think he is good at representing socialism. I'm not a socialist, but I know many socialists. I've shown his content to many socialists. And what they tell me is that he doesn't do a good job at representing socialism.
Well, he's not a socialist either. So.
Well, I know. But he criticizes
okay, fair enough.
socialism.
So you think that he basically strawmans socialism and puts out a version of socialism that you don't think is an accurate representation of it? Is that your criticism?
Yeah, sometimes he confuses more like progressive companies with socialism. An example is, I think in one of his videos on on representation, he talked about I think it's queer baiting.
Okay.
Or when companies put in like LGBTQ characters, just so they can appeal to that market. And he said it was like a left wing thing, when in reality it's more of a right wing capitalist thing.
Okay. Well, it's something that you can certainly call in on Thursday to talk about.
Yeah.
And, make sure you get in there early. We do have some people who are pre-planned to be there, right? Who have expressed pre-planned criticisms, and they will be given pride of place. But we are absolutely going to have a section where people, just randos, can call in. So I look forward to you coming in on Thursday. I really appreciate you calling in. Okay, buddy?
Wait, hold up. Oh.
No, what's up?
So I want to talk about some other stuff too,
Okay,
like
one
rent
more
control.
thing, but then we got to move on. Yes.
Rent control. Like, what do you think of it?
I have no strong opinions on rent control.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
I don't. So I'll talk to you later, okay, buddy? I feel like I disappointed him. I just don't like. There are certain subjects and topics like, oh, I don't have a strong opinion on that. Okay, Lawson, what do you got? What are you here for?
Audible?
Yeah, you can. We can hear you. What's up?
Cool. Not much. Just called to say what's up.
Oh, hi. Is that
Sorry.
you just
Oh,
saying, hey? Well, so okay. Maybe I should be clear, gang. This section right here, we're calling in to have
I'm fucking with you,
criticisms
Wick.
about
I
my
understand.
moderation. So
I think you did as best job you could. Destiny is unhinged. It's unhinged for good reasons, in my opinion. But yeah, he's just sick of dealing with these people. I think they answered a question directly like twice. I think I don't know. You could have been harsher on the muting, I guess. But also, I don't know if that would have made it more entertaining. Probably would have made it less entertaining. So yeah, I get that it's a hard for you to balance like entertainment versus like productivity.
one of the things I will say is that a lot of people would tell me and say, hey, when they didn't answer a question, you need to stop the conversation and force them to answer the question. The problem with that is that it is not my job to judge the veracity of their answers. And what I mean by that is if they give a non-answer, that's not on me to make that call live, right? That's on their interlocutors. That's on their opponents to point that out. And Destiny and Soypill were doing that. They were doing that. They
Yeah,
didn't need my help. If I had stopped it and done that, you know what the criticism would be? They would have been like, why are you making Destiny's points for him? And anyway. So,
yeah, I get it.
yeah.
I think you did the best job you could have. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in, man.
All
Anything
right.
else?
Also, my wife got her green card today.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Well, great.
Are you doing any immigration panels?
We're going to have some coming up, I think. Yes. I
Okay.
want to talk also about the 14th Amendment. A lot of people in birthright citizenship specifically. I just need to find people who are willing to argue against birthright citizenship.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah. Well,
All
thanks
right,
for
bud.
calling in. Okay.
Yeah, catch you later.
See ya. Okay. What a good pair of callers. Okay, you guys ready? You guys ready to talk about some Hegseth stuff? Some did I cut out? Am I still here? Some Department of Defense war crimes. Okay. I'm just trying to decide where to start, okay? Because there's so much here. And there's so many ways we can take this. I think the first thing we should do is discuss what is happening. So a week ago, the Washington Post came out with a report on a strike that was done on September 2nd. A strike against an alleged drug boat in Venezuelan waters that led to 2 survivors, shipwreck survivors in the water, alleged narco terrorists. The report says that they were floating in the water. Okay. When the commanding officer at the time ordered a second strike against the boat in order to comply with Secretary Hegseth's directive that they kill them all, that they just kill everyone. There are, of course, differing accounts of this. Hegseth claims he never gave that order. Hegseth claims that the admiral, the acting admiral at the time who made that order, was acting within the bounds of the law. But many others who have seen this situation claim it was a war crime. So what we're going to do, let me see if we can pull it up here. I had it for a minute. We're going to look at the U.S. We're not even going to touch international law, okay? We don't need to do that. DOD Law of War Manual. Okay, we don't even need to look at the international stuff because we have, and I'm going to show you on screen in a second here. Okay. Just getting it up to the right spot. Wick, you should be way more organized than you are. Yes, I should. Okay. So here is, can you guys see it? Do I need to make it bigger? Okay. This is the department. Oh, what page are we on here? 272? This is 272? Okay. Just so everyone knows what we're looking at. This is a Department of Defense Law of War Manual. Here, I can maybe move it over just a little so you can see it better. Okay. This isn't the Geneva Conventions, even though we are signatory to that, right? This isn't the ICC. This isn't international law at all. I want to talk today about the U.S. law, what United States has deemed to be legal when it comes to warfare, and what rules we have when it comes to making strikes and things like that. So this was updated on July of 2023. So it's fairly recent, okay? Fairly recent. They have a section, okay? The applicable section that we're going to look at today are people who are placed hors de combat. And I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right, if I'm pronouncing that right. I probably am not. So persons, including combatants. So again, it doesn't just include combatants, but it does include combatants. Persons, which means anyone, including enemy combatants, placed hors de combat may not be made the object of attack. Okay? So I want to stress this because there's a lot of people arguing that this doesn't apply to narco-terrorists and things like that because they're not combatants. But again, the subject here is much broader than just combatants. Persons, meaning literally anyone, okay, including enemy combatants. So again, it's not just combatants. And I'm stressing this for a reason. I'm stressing this because a lot of the counter argument that you will hear is that the narco-terrorists are designated terrorists. That means they're not subject to the laws of war. That means that we have a different way of dealing with them, that this isn't covered by, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not true. And I want to make very clear, at least when it comes to this situation, that's just not true at all. They are absolutely included in persons, okay? Combatants, lawful combatants are not the only ones afforded, I guess, the protection of this rule, if you want to call it that. Persons placed hors de combat include the following categories of person, provided they abstain from any hostile act and do not attempt to escape. And this is also important, right? So you can be rendered like incapacitated in some way, but if you're like still got a gun and are shooting, you're still a combatant. If you're running away, you're still a combatant that's legal target, I should say. It's not just a combatant. You're still a legal target. Even if you're running away, you are a legal target. You may not think that's moral, but that's the laws of war, right? That's the rules we got. It is legal to attack a fleeing regiment of enemies or fleeing terrorists or anything. If they're trying to get away, they remain a legal target, okay? And I'm, again, pointing this out for a reason. Because This is why there are different standards for combat on land and combat at sea. So a lot of things that you'll hear, a lot of defenses for Hegseth actions will be like, well, when we were in Afghanistan, when we shot at the enemy and then they dropped their guns and ran away, we still shot at them. Well, yes, because the rules put out an exception, okay? They're not a legal target unless they try to do a hostile act or attempt to escape, okay? So those are the two kind of carve-outs to this. If you're trying to run away, you remain a legal target. Any questions so far? We're following this. I know it's dense stuff, but we're going to get through it. Persons, okay, so these are the 4 categories, okay, and they lay them out. Persons in the power of an adverse party. So if you're a hostage, basically. Persons not yet in custody who have surrendered. So if you come out waving a white flag, even though they haven't, officially captured you yet, they're not allowed to shoot you. Persons who have been rendered unconscious or otherwise incapacitated by wounds, sickness, or shipwreck. The shipwreck is the applicable place here. When Hegseth issues an order to kill them all, or a directive, whatever you want to call it, to kill them all, and the acting officer in charge directs a strike, knowing that there are shipwreck survivors, okay? And again, the directive is to kill them all. He is violating this law of war. The 4th category is persons parachuting from aircraft in distress. So if we shoot down their bomber and they bail out and they parachute down, okay? Again, this isn't paratroopers. That's a different thing. But if they're ejecting from their aircraft and they've been shot out of the sky, we can't target them. They are hors de combat. They cannot meaningfully do anything. They're just literally floating there in the sky. Same with shipwreck survivors. They're literally just floating there in the water. The reason why we can't still target them is because they have been incapacitated. They can't even flee, not in any realistic sense. They're just bobbing there pretty much. And even if they were swimming, where are they going to swim to? It's the middle of the ocean. I don't know. I think it's pretty obvious, but a lot of people have been trying to do a lot of, well, what about this? What about that? What about these other things? Well, what about us drone striking people in Afghanistan? And again, regardless of whether you think the morality of that, there is legal precedent for that, and that does not violate this law here. Now, again, morality is a different question, but we're not here to talk morality today, boys. Debate Boar says, where was all this energy while Obama was celebrating and bragging about droning 16-year-old Americans overseas? You mean enemy combatants who were engaged in warfare, active warfare against us? Who were making weapons against us, right? Who hadn't surrendered. They weren't rendered incapacitated. They weren't any of that. This is the difference. Again, you can have real big problems, and a lot of people do, with the drone striking of certain individuals, especially American citizens, in Iraq and Afghanistan, okay? There's good criticisms that get levied, and I'm willing to hear you out. But I don't take you seriously when you criticize that, but then you just hand wave the Hegseth stuff. When you just like, oh, I wish, what did Megyn Kelly say? That she wished that they had tortured them more before killing them? Like, again, let's keep in mind that the legality of the strikes at all is in question. Whether or not they should be shooting at these guys at all is in question. Because again, we don't punish drug trafficking with death. And I want to make that clear. So even if you can argue that we should stop the drugs from being smuggled, and I think we should, we don't summarily execute drug runners. We just don't. Whether we should or not is a different question, but that's, again, not the punishment we mete out. In fact, today, was it today or maybe it was yesterday? Was it, hold on, gang, was it today or was it yesterday? Donald Trump pardoned, and let me get the guy's name. Okay, Honduran ex-president, okay? So this guy, let's read about him. The Honduran ex-president was pardoned by Trump for drug trafficking today, updated December 2nd. So either today or maybe yesterday. The former Honduran president convicted of helping to smuggle 400 tons of cocaine into the United States has left prison after being pardoned by President Donald Trump. Remember, one of the justifications that this administration is using to strike these boats is that these drugs kill Americans, right? So for every X amount of drugs that enter our country, 25,000 American lives are lost. You've heard them say that, said it several times. This is the argument they make. So by that calculation, okay, by the numbers that Trump administration are using, Donald Trump pardoned someone who murdered 5 million Americans. Donald Trump pardoned someone who is responsible for the death of 5 million American citizens. Now, again, I think those numbers are kind of bogus. I think they're kind of crap. I think it's a very tenuous connection. I think there's a very big difference between someone who is voluntarily injecting themselves with a substance and someone who's being like murdered. I think that there's different things. Now, again, that doesn't mean drug runners aren't scum. They absolutely are, right? But there is, we can't just like execute everyone that does a bad thing. Like, we have to keep execution as a penalty for only the worst of the worst, right? Should we start gunning down people who cheat on their taxes? Should we hellfire strike them? Should we drone strike someone who may have left a little, may have made a few more deductions than they probably legally should have, but they broke the law? Sure, but not every criminal offense justifies us using lethal force. It just doesn't. I don't know how people don't understand this. I really don't. $5 from Alishness. Everyone knows how much Trump hates drug dealers and gangs, like when he granted multiple members of El Chapo family asylum into the U.S. Debate Board says, notice how Wick just overlooks Obama droning and killing extrajudicially Americans overseas. What do you mean I just overlooked it? I said that there are valid criticisms of that, and you can make the argument. I'd be willing to hear you out. But I don't take you seriously when you look at an administration who reportedly just killed, again, 2 shipwreck survivors in cold blood in stark violation of their own rules of engagement in war. Like, I just don't take your criticism seriously. Why would I? Ever. That's not true, Doobie. At least, well, which one are you referring to? There's a couple. If you're referring to one of the kids who was there who was collateral damage, You understand how collateral damage is different than a targeted strike. But there was another one, Aluwaji, I forget his name, who was absolutely manufacturing weapons against us. He was an American citizen. Now, you can argue he should have been apprehended, brought back to the U.S., and given due process. And I think there's a valid argument there, in fact. I might even agree with you that this was an illegal strike, right? But there's a stark difference between that and what Hegseth allegedly did and what the commanding officer in the Venezuelan boat strikes allegedly did. They're not on the same level. It makes you look like a fool when you try to equate these two things. It's like me trying to equate, well, you know, he cut me off in traffic, so he's just as bad as this guy who murdered 10 women and children. Like, yes, the guy cutting you off in traffic was also bad. Shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry it happened, right? But let's be real. If you try to equate these two things, you look foolish. $2 from Tesco Johnson says, war crime, lock him up. I mean, if that's the argument you want to make, by all means, make your argument. I, again, will let you do so uninterrupted. That's your argument? Okay. That's the strongest you got? Okay. It reveals a fundamental weakness of your position. Debate board, why don't you just call in? It is a call-in show. You can simply come on the show and talk to me, okay? You can simply jump backstage and we can have this debate if you like. So let's see, while he waits for that, let's see what Hegseth has to say, okay? Watch it together. Let me get the volume up, make sure you guys can hear it. Here's Hegseth speaking today on the narco boat strikes.
Those are not Christmas gifts from Santa. This is drugs running on four-motor fast boats or submarines that we've also struck. No one's fishing on a submarine. And I have empowered them to make that call. Now, the first couple of strikes, as you would, as any leader would want, you want to own that responsibility. So I said, I'm going to be the one to make the call after getting all the information and make sure it's the right strike. That was September 2nd. There's a lot of intelligence that goes into that, building that case and understanding that. A lot of people providing information. I watched that first strike live.
Okay, so here's him saying that he was watching the first strike live and intimating, even though he's not directly saying it, but he's intimating that he is making those calls, right? That he is the one making those calls, that he's delegating it later, but the first couple strikes, in his words, are things he as a leader wants to make the direct call on. Again, we can rewatch it, and I think we should, but unless I misheard, and I don't think I did, he is saying that he's making the calls here. But let's go back and re-listen just in case.
Christmas gifts from Santa. This is drugs running on four-motor fast boats or submarines that we've also struck. No one's fishing on a submarine. And I have empowered them to make that call. Now, the first couple of strikes, as you would, as any leader would want, you want to own that responsibility. So I said, I'm going to be the one to make the call after getting all the information and make sure it's the right strike.
That's him admitting that he's making this call. Am I wrong?
Was September 2nd.
Yeah, and that was September 2nd. So again, the striking question, he's saying, I made that call.
There's a lot of intelligence that goes into that, building that case and understanding that. A lot of people providing information. I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do.
Oh, okay. Now I see it. He says he made the call for the first strike, but then he had things to do and went off to do other things. And then the commanding officer was the one who made the call for the second strike. And to be clear, the first strike, the legality of it, it might be legal. I don't know. It's a gray area. we're working out, right? There's you can't really. It's much harder to call that one with the information we have. But the second strike, that's the one that's damning. That's the one that, if the reports are true and the allegations are correct, is the problem here. But let's keep going.
And by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer because narco-terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water and eventually on land if necessary to the American people. We will eliminate that threat, and we're proud to do it.
Or they'll pardon you after you do it if you get convicted. But, it depends on how much you donate to the Trump campaign.
You didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike. You personally?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded and fire and smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything, not based in any truth at all. And then you want to throw out really irresponsible terms about American heroes, about the judgment that they made. I wrote a whole book on this topic because of what politicians and the press does to warfighters.
That's not what they mean by the fog of war, to be clear. It isn't the smoke from the fire of the ship, okay? So, first of all, if the ship is flaming wreckage, okay, why do you need a second strike to finish it off? So if the target was the boat and you're alleging that the boat was on fire, okay, that boat sunk. It's done. It's going down, okay? Then the only purpose for the second strike would be to finish off the survivors, would it not? And again, we have the words of Hegseth himself saying that the goal is to eliminate the narco-terrorists, not just their boats. It is a kill order, if you will. Okay? He says this on social media. He says, again, on his personal account this time, that they haven't even begun to kill the narco-terrorists. He makes memes about killing narco-terrorists, okay? If your argument here is that, well, yes, our goal was to kill the narco-terrorists, but the second strike wasn't to kill the narco-terrorists. It was to destroy the boat that was already on fire and sinking. It's a very weak argument. And to allege that the Washington Post story is fake when you are basically confirming the Washington Post story, okay? You understand that when the Washington Post story dropped, a lot of people said that this was all fake, none of it happened, there was no second strike. The next day, the White House comes and says, yes, there was a second strike. Basically, sawing off the limb, right, of all their supporters who went out on a limb to kind of support them without any facts of the matter, and to make these wild accusations about the falsity of the report. The White House, Trump White House, just saw the limb and let him fall, okay? But this is this is how it goes, okay? A story will come out, the White House will exclaim, fake news, it was a myth, okay? Then later on, or I'm sorry, the White House supporters, and then what the White House itself will admit, no, that's what happened. And then the White House supporters will come out and be like, well, it didn't happen exactly as it was said, and there's some spin that they put on it, and they tie themselves into these knots to try to justify basically just being wrong the entire time. But again, the questions for me, because I have no doubt that it was an unlawful order. My question, and I don't know the answer to this yet, my question is how responsible Hegseth is. The admiral who gave that order needs to be put up on charges, okay? But the question I have is, did Hegseth issue a guideline or directive or order, or did he make it understood that he wanted to kill every single narco-terrorist on that boat, right? Regardless of their law of war status, right? Regardless of whether they were shipwrecked or not. Did he make that clear? Because the initial reporting from the Washington Post says that the admiral who made the call did so, for the second strike to be clear, did so in order to fulfill the directive by Hegseth to basically follow that order that he had to kill all the survivors. Now, again, it seems to be that what they're claiming now is that Hegseth wasn't there for that, and the admiral acted on his own directive and perhaps misunderstood or misinterpreted what was said, and that the admiral was simply trying to sink the boat and making a strike against the boat to sink it. But that, I got questions. Luckily for us, gang, and this doesn't happen often, and I'm glad to see it happening now, there are going to be congressional inquiries into this. Investigations are going now underway, are bipartisan investigations about this. We have people like Rand Paul, and I want to read this from Rand Paul because I think this is also important. Rand Paul says this, and Rand Paul and I don't agree on almost anything. Let's be real. He says that the Coast Guard reports that over 3/4 of the drug boats, or the boats that they have stopped, have drugs. That's a great job and an admirable record for accurate information. But it's not so great if you're droning them instead of arresting them. If you're killing people, 1 out of 4 potentially being wrong is too many. Okay? So I think that there are Republicans who are just tired of this and who don't want to be a party to this. And I think that we're seeing a lot of them turn on this administration. And I think that this is going to be one of those breaking points. I think that a lot of people look at this situation, they recognize the blatant illegality of these actions, and they're just not willing to go along with it anymore. Give me a second, gang. My mouth is dry. My throat is dry. I need a drink. But yeah, if anyone wants to disagree with me on this, it is a call-in show. If you think that I'm reading the room wrong or something, if I've gotten this wrong, please call in. Puffin Master, hello.
Hello.
Hi, what's up?
Hi. Your title, I just jumped into the stream, so hopefully I'm not missing context, but your title mentions people are mad at you for letting the conservatives talk. I assume this is about the Destiny panel the other day?
Yes. There were a lot of people who were very upset at my moderation style because I tried to make it so that the Republican, or the conservatives, I should say, Andrew Braca and Good Logic were able to get their thoughts out uninterrupted before Destiny or Soypill jumped in. I wasn't entirely successful at that, but that was my goal.
Sure. So I think you have your style of debate is very like chill, and that's fine. I think that's a big part of why people watch is because they don't want some like sweaty like Oxford, college degree panel debate thing going on.
Yeah,
You
no
know
one
what I
wants to
mean?
watch that. It's boring. But
Yeah. But I think that there is some frustration when you ask someone, like, hey, is it daytime outside? And they say, what about Obama? Right. And I think, like, kind of when Destiny's basically just yelling over them, like, no, answer the question, I think that that's kind of Like I think you stepping in to prevent that is kind of like kind of giving more grace to the conservatives than they deserve, because they shouldn't just be avoiding questions like that.
So
I think that.
Oh, go ahead.
Go
Finish
ahead.
your thought.
I think that like if I think the style of moderation I would like to see more in these kind of like panel spaces is more like kind of pressing the both panelists to answer questions and not like squirm around the question.
Okay, so one of the things I think that we're going to have a disagreement on here is like the role of me as a moderator in this. And the second thing I think we'll disagree with is just what was happening. So if you think, and I agree with you, actually, that some of the answers that Good Logic gave were non-responsive, right? They did not address the query or the question or the criticism that Destiny or Soypill is leveling, right? I think that it is my job to allow them to give the answer that they want to give, and then allow Destiny or Soypill to the space to say that wasn't what we asked you and here's why. Now, in order to do that, though, I have to allow the person to fully answer the question, because a lot of times what people will do is they'll start to answer a question by giving a bit of a preamble, by giving some context before in order to kind of shape or form the reason that they're giving the answer. And I don't know, because I'm not Nostradamus, I don't have a crystal ball, I don't know how their answer is going to turn out. So I need them to actually say or not say whatever it is and finish their thought before we accuse them of not answering the question. Now, again, I agree with you. There were times when Good Logic, and God Logic, I keep calling him that because I did. Good Logic and Destiny, right? Or Good Logic and the other one, Bronca, didn't answer the question. But at the same time, there are a few times, more than a few times, where they didn't have the chance not to answer the question before they were interrupted. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that I think that every single time they opened their mouth to answer a question, they were going on a tangent that was not responsive. Like even like it got to the point where it was just like ADD, like it, toward the end there, it's like, is punching babies bad? And he's like, well, like just can't answer the question. You have to like put your own spin on it, I guess, to prevent like a logic chain or something.
He did answer that question. It was just a silly answer, right? Like, but he did answer. Like when he was asked, is it okay for President Trump to punch a baby? Or would it be not okay for President Trump to punch a baby? The answer that was given was an answer. It wasn't a very good one, but it was an answer that said, I don't think it was okay for anyone to punch a baby. That's an answer to the question. You might not like it, but that answers the question.
Well, so the kind of the conversational flow of the question was, if Trump punched a baby, like, would Democrats freak out? And he said, well, Republicans would also freak out, because what they were trying to do is be like, is there a way that Trump can behave that can instigate a response, and would Trump be responsible for the response that was instigated? And I think Good Logic kind of saw that like conversational flow, and he undermined it by constantly just answering the question in that Weasley way, right?
But you understand that people saw this, okay, correctly judged it as Weasley, and held him or judged him accordingly, right? And I think it's important to let them be Weasley, if you think they're Weasley, but to let them be Weasley, so then people can see they're Weasley. And then after they are Weasley, after they've been Weaseling, to point out that they're Weaseling, and then maybe reiterate the question. But when you interrupt, right, that kind of like flow and the back and forth, you run the risk, and I think that's happened a few times, right? You run the risk of making it so that optically you look like you're not letting them speak.
The other concern that I have with this is so if we ask someone a question, and it's we have like a point to the question, and they, in their refusal to answer the question, they bring up 10 separate points, then you have 10 points on the table that are left unaddressed. And if you go back to the first point and you say, actually, I don't want to talk about all that right now. Let's focus on the first question. That makes it look like you're leaving 10 points on the table. So I think like interrupting them before they can just basically like drag everything out of the closet and kind of like obfuscate the question by bringing up a bunch of like 10 extra points and their rambling non-answer. I think that's what was trying to be prevented.
I understand that, but again, there are other ways of handling that do not disrupt the flow of conversation that I think the way that the interruptions did. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not against all interruptions. I think several of the interruptions were appropriate. And I think several interruptions, because the right interrupted the left a couple times. They interrupted Destiny, and I think they interrupted Soypill a couple times. Those are fine. I think in moderation, interruptions are fine. But the problem comes when you are not letting them speak at all. And it becomes very obvious to the audience that, oh, these people just aren't getting a word in edgewise. You have to give the audience the chance to see it happening. Even if you know 100% it's going to happen, you have to let the audience watch. Does that make sense?
Do you think... yeah, it does make sense. Do you think that we didn't see that happen with that panel?
I think that well, I think you did when it was just Good Logic and Destiny and Soypill. But I think at the very beginning, nothing had happened yet. Like when Andrew Branca was still there. Again, I think that allowing Andrew Branca to give his answer that he did about shipwrecks, I think if you had tried to interrupt that answer, that would have been crazy. A crazy thing to do. Because that answer, I wanted to hear him speak on that for another 10 minutes because, wow, that was such a bad answer from his side. And it made him look so bad.
I 100% agree. That was goofy. But like, so when he rage quit and it was like, I can't remember what Soypill asked. It was like,
I don't know.
Are they turning down the rhetoric? I think it's like, or is Trump turning down the rhetoric? And it's like, well, it's not his responsibility to. That's, again, like, that is non-responsive in a way that is just a waste of everyone's time. And I think Soypill being like, there's no reason for you to be here if that's the kind of answer you're going to give.
The problem was the problem of the whole thing was this, right? That yes, there were times when they absolutely should have been interrupted, but Destiny, and this is a criticism I have for both Destiny and Soypill, they interrupted far too much. They should have not interrupted as much as they did. That isn't me saying that they don't interrupt at all, because again, I don't have collegiate debates. It's back and forth, man, right? And you have, and the criticism I'll give to Branca here, other than him running away, is like, if you're going into a show, you should probably watch a show that this person has done before to see how it would have worked out, right? Because if he had watched a show, right, watched any of my other moderated debates where I had Destiny on, he would know how it went. But he obviously wasn't prepared, did not know what he was getting into. But that's on him. So.
Is it possible that he knew the style of panel that he was getting into? He just didn't realize he was going to be gut checked so consistently.
Possibly.
Because the shit that he was saying was insane, right?
Possibly.
Okay. I appreciate you. I love the channel. I'm chilling. I just wanted to add my 2 cents.
Bye-bye.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for calling in. Oh. Whoopsie. Hold on. Did we drop? Still here?
Oh, what happened? What's up?
Hold on. Give me a second. I hit the wrong button. Okay, I hit the wrong button, but I think we're good. Can we see?
Yeah, I think you saw you join the backstage. Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah, what's up? What can I help you with?
That's my cam. Yeah, I want to talk about the panel the other day.
Sure, go ahead.
And I guess they're coming at you for your moderating style, but like, I think like as the moderator, of course, it's kind of hard to kind of dictate where that conversation goes if it's high
yes
energy.
And no.
But like,
just real quick. Yes and no. Here's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, I can't force someone to answer a question. There's just nothing I can do. It's short of kicking them, and
Yeah.
that's silly. I don't want to do that. If they choose not to answer a question, that's on them. But yeah.
But as like,
Go ahead.
but it's still like you say
just
like as
I'm sorry, real quick.
yeah, go
Also,
ahead, yeah.
if they want to go off on tangents all the time, I can, and I tried to reel it back a few times, but at the end of the day, they're going to have the conversation that they want to have. So, yeah. But anyway, go on.
So would that conversation be productive if they were to ramble for 10 minutes each time and then only Destiny and Soypo get to say like a few things? Like would that be a productive
No,
conversation or a
because it
debate
would be
for the
boring when one
viewers?
side rambling for 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm saying like the moderator's job is to kind of dictate how the conversation flows, even though if it's difficult. And you maybe could have entered this
It
meeting a
is.
little bit more. I don't even know.
Yeah, but part of dictating how it flows is making sure that both sides get a chance to get their whole answer out. There was not a situation where one side was rambling for 10 minutes. They were going back and forth towards each other
Yeah.
quite a bit.
So how many times for them to not answer is enough? Like, if they're consistently not answering the question, you would say, okay, like you kind of redirect it in that direction, or just say it differently so then they can give maybe a shorter answer for the
Well,
conversation.
here's the thing. I tried to translate for Destiny a couple times, but he got mad when I did
Oh
that.
yeah. Because I think maybe he thought you were trying to like give him an out, which I understand that.
I was
But
trying
I guess maybe
to
you could have
rephrase
muted him.
it so in case they didn't understand what Destiny was trying to say, that maybe a different voice. Because you know how there's some people that you just can't, like, if you got a hate boner for
Yeah.
someone, you're never going to understand what they're saying, right? Like, so I tried to have a more neutral voice, try to ask a question in a more passive tone, perhaps. Might have helped, but again, they didn't want me to do that. So, you know.
Yeah, but I think it's still like holding the speakers accountable for answers. Even if you don't like the answer, but it's still
What
yeah, like to be
accountability
held
should I
accountable. Why
hold
not?
here to if a person on my show gives an answer that I don't like or is bad? Let's just say it's objectively a bad answer. It's non-responsive. It's silly. Exactly. Like what accountability do you want me to do?
I need you to repeatedly direct them into giving sufficient answers. It wouldn't just allow it. And if the person's interrupting it, like, because you know they weren't giving answers, you can acknowledge that. But if the opposing side has to listen to that for 10 minutes, it's not going to be a good time.
Well, sure, if they had to listen to that for 10 minutes at a time, I agree. But that
I know
wasn't
10
what
minutes
was
is like kind of like
happening.
I know it was like more like a minute to
Yes,
two
and I
minutes
think
and
that
then
they could
cutting off
stand a minute
because
of an answer. I think that's fine to go a minute without talking.
and even when they did do their minute to 2 minute answers, still nothing was addressed. So that's when you say, okay, good logic. Can you
Am I
answer
still
the
quiet?
question?
I'm
Like,
sorry. Am I still
oh,
quiet? Can you guys hear me? Hold on.
I think it's maybe because the mic is like not where your mouth
No,
is. I'm
I
not
had to
sure.
change the settings earlier. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Let
Oh, you're good.
me. I have a decibel offset. I sometimes do. Let me put that on. Okay, is this better, gang?
It didn't change for me, but yeah,
It
maybe the stream is
won't. It
better.
will change for the stream though. So.
Okay, gotcha.
But
I
to
forget
your
what I was
point,
saying.
I guess, is I understand that you want them to be held accountable, quote unquote, and have it pointed out that they haven't answered the question. Destiny and Soypill were doing that. They were pointing it out quite well. I didn't need to help.
You don't need to help, but you can still. I know you don't like the word accountable, but you still have to dictate how the panel goes, and you did to
Yeah.
an extent. You have the opening statements, the back and forth, and closing statements. So in in the middle, you can still say, all right, we're gonna have like actual answers this time, or at least like if they keep doing the same thing over and over again as they did, you can redirect it.
Again, they
Oh,
were
they're saying you're
Destiny
loud
was
again.
doing a fine job at it. I am frustrated.
Okay, so then
Hold on. I am frustrated because I think that while yes, it was a great show, I liked it content-wise. I thought it's going to make me a lot of money. I think that it would have been even better if there were less interruptions by Destiny and Soypill. Not no interruptions, but less. Because
I mean,
I
yeah, like
wanted.
less
Let me
interruptions,
sell
yeah.
you on this, please, if I can. Because
Yeah, let's
whenever
see.
they give a non-answer, whenever Good Logic or Bronca or whoever actually is on my show and they give a non-answer, the audience can see that and they judge them accordingly, and it makes them look bad. Good Logic did say something that I actually agree with. That he said that the constant interruptions by Destiny made him look bad. And I agree. It did. His argument would have, as strong as it was, would have been even stronger had he interrupted less. That's my opinion, though.
I mean, I don't know. It's just still, but then at that point, not to be like that. But then, what is the point of having a moderator if they're just gonna do what they want? And if they already got it covered, then what would be
Because
the
not
point?
everyone is Destiny that has it covered. And there are a lot of times where people do just miss obvious things and think that an answer was given and it wasn't. There are times when people do need someone to kind of step in and say, Also, I think that the value of a moderator is there when things start to circle the drain, when the audience is
Yeah,
getting
yeah. I'm trying to
bored.
of course, I like probably moderator debates
Sure.
better. But it's still like if you're gonna have that position, you still have to kind of step in a little bit whenever that happens. And I guess it's not easy, but yeah.
Well, I did step in. I do step in. I don't know what
Yeah.
to tell you.
I think maybe you should have. You said you were gonna mute, but like maybe just like honestly just start muting people. Even mute Destiny. I know it's kind of
Sure. Well,
might
no,
be kind of tough, but yeah.
I've muted Destiny before. I will again. I muted Soy Pill twice during that show before Bronca
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, man,
All right.
thank you for calling in. I do appreciate it. Okay, man.
I appreciate it.
Bye.
Oh wait, will there be more people or like I don't know if we're able to come back or what?
What do you mean?
Oh, like I don't know if there would be like a more people in the panel or just like one-on-ones. I don't know.
Are you talking for today, Collins?
Yeah, today.
I tend to do one-on-ones, not always, but I tend to do
Okay. All right.
one-on-ones. Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, the cameras aren't up by the way on the stream.
Yeah, I
see
know.
it.
I'm messing with things.
Oh, all right.
Sorry about
I'll
that.
get out of here.
I'll talk to you later. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to set it up. When I changed my mic settings, I fucked up, and I changed a couple other things. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Hey, look.
Hey, Hazel, what's up?
Nothing much. I know usually I come in here kind of hot and aggro, but I will say I actually think you did a pretty good job moderating. I don't necessarily know how you can do better with such a, I don't know, antagonistic sort of argument, unless you want to do full on, like academic professional debates where you have like a certain set time limit.
If that's what you guys want, why are you watching my show?
Exactly, right? And I don't think anyone here actually wants that. But I will say, not to bring, like, I don't even want to rehash this argument. I'm more talking in a philosophical sense. I almost wonder, like, what the limit of debate really is in terms of, like, convincing people of your position. Because, I was there. I watched that debate. I didn't watch, like, it all the way through, but like I did watch that entire debate, and in the comments section, there were people that were fans of those two guys, those two lawyers, and they came away from it thinking that like Destiny and Soy seemed ridiculous, that they were like, soy raging, that they didn't make any sense.
Sure.
And then all of the liberal people, of course, came away from it thinking that the lawyers didn't make any sense. It seems crazy to me how two people can have such radically different perceptions of an event that it almost makes me kind of despair for the idea that, like, debate can even convince anyone's mind of anything, you know?
So it is extraordinarily rare that a single debate will ever change someone's mind. I think that, especially observing a debate, right? It's extremely rare. But let me give you the use case of debate as I see it. I think that one of the things that debate allows is for ideas to be tested. And what I mean by that is people can watch these debates and see the back and forth for people who agree and disagree with an event or a proposition or an argument, etc. And they can look to find the strongest arguments to support or oppose their position. It is a way to kind of build an argument, right? So what happens is policies and policy positions go through this kind of cycle. And it's kind of put out initially as an idea. And that goes through the debate process. And people see that debate process, and that idea is tested and forged within that debate process. It's not so much about convincing, though that does happen. It's about forging the arguments to support or oppose an idea. Does that make sense?
It does, but at the same time,
So,
like
No, I get what
think
you're saying.
people-
But let me kind of maybe make my point a little clearer.
Sure.
With the example of the debate we just had on Sunday with Destiny and Good Logic. People were able to see the arguments that both sides brought forth, and when they are talking to other people in their circles, okay, when they take what they saw and the arguments that they saw Destiny make or Good Logic make, and they can take the good ones, and when they're at the dinner table with their families and politics gets brought up, or with their friends and politics gets brought up, they will have arguments ready, okay, like ammo and arrows in their quiver, if you will, in order to use when talking about these ideas. And I will say that talking with family and friends and having discussions is far more convincing, okay, far more persuasive than online debates. But the online debates give you the ammo you need.
Sure, no, I understand there's value in it in the sense of like refining your arguments and stuff, and just giving you that practice in defending your ideals. But I think back to me, and it could just be that I'm a stubborn person, but when I was like really young, I remember I did have a conservative phase. I think lots of men do, like when they're really young. Not like by really I mean when they're like teenagers. And even how I am now, being a leftist, I don't know that there's anything like, even if I could go back in time and I could like take over the body of someone else to like try and convince myself of my views now, I'm not sure anything I say could have gotten young me to like believe what I believe now. I think it was certain experiences I had firsthand that made it so, I believe what I believe now. And so even your example of this giving you more ways in which to defend your
Arrows
ideals
in your
when you're
quiver,
at
yeah.
them. Yeah. It's like I don't know how many people there are that any amount of arrows that you shoot at them will get them to like
You
change.
think that, but I would posit to you that there are things that you can reject now, but that later when you have experiences will put that thing that you heard into a different context that might make it sprout when it before did not. So think of these arguments and these thoughts and these ideas as seeds that are planted in you that you may reject initially, that you may not have any purchase initially. But as time goes on and you have more experiences and you hear more arguments and you go through life more, those sometimes will sprout and grow inside of you in a way that they would not be able to if you did not see or hear these arguments.
Yeah, I agree. I guess the way I formulate, like in my mind, the way I think people like come to change their views is that I think, and you can tell me if you think I'm right or wrong, is that I think 99% of the time there are people that, are more reasonable than this. But I think most people, they tend to be like dead set in their views, at least the ones they hold strongly, until something in their personal life causes them to want to change their views. Either they follow that sort of logic and ideology and it doesn't end up well for them, or maybe they get bored of it, they don't think it's giving them the results they want. Like if they're a Republican and they vote for Trump and then they, see that Trump isn't necessarily doing what they want, or if they're a Democrat and, the reverse happens. And then I think that will put them in a state where they are receptible to opposing views. But I think for most people,
yes, that's true, though.
Yeah, and
what
I
you
think
said is just true. Yes.
Yeah, and I think for most people are not actively in that receptive state. Like most people, they are not open to opposing viewpoints, and so we can make it very easy. And I think like what you do is important for this. When people enter into those states where we make our positions known, we argue for it, and we, have all of our talking points out there. But I don't think there's anything we can necessarily do to put people into that state. I think that's simply a function of like what their own personality is and the circumstances of the world. And it kind of makes me nervous because I have no control over whether people do change their beliefs in that sense. Like, I can make things as easy as possible for them to cross over to my side when they are in that state where they're receptible to changing their views, but I can't do anything to put them into that state. And so it kind of, and
hold on.
More
do you
than
think
that,
you have? Let me just ask this: do you think you have the responsibility to try?
Of course, yeah. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm
so
not
you can't lead a
necessarily
horse
saying-
to water, right? This is the old adage, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But you still should lead the horse to water.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying what. Let me make it clear. I am not like indicting you
Sure.
for doing
I don't
this.
think
In
I
fact,
am.
I think it's.
I'm not indicted here. Don't worry. I don't feel like
Yeah.
you're indicting me. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. In fact, I think what you do is very good. I'm more of just despairing on like what I think is the human condition and the state of the world. You know what I mean? Like I don't, and considering like the times that we're in and like what's happening on the world stage, I don't necessarily know that we can convince people to we can convince enough people to be on our side until really bad stuff starts happening in the world. Like if the I'm not necessarily talking about like civil
I think you're
war or anything
blackpilling,
like
man.
that.
You need to stop blackpilling. I think that we're winning, actually. I think that we're changing hearts and minds as we go. We see Trump's poll numbers plummeting. We see the Republicans, just generic ballot people who are voting for them, just going down. We're seeing on November, the November election that just happened, blue wave. We're seeing signs of a blue wave come midterms. Like, what we're doing is working.
Yeah, politics tend to be cyclical, but I understand you have said before that you think we're winning, and you think that Trump and like MAGA's extreme rhetoric is in part due to that. But
yes, it is driving people away from them. But we've had this argument, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm not going to rehash it. But considering that they did. Trump won the presidency twice. You can say that one or both of those times was a fluke, and that they control the majority of the government, and they'll control the Supreme Court for, quite a while now. I would have to, perhaps we're winning right now. I can even, I don't know, grant you that. But because of the cyclical nature of politics, I kind of feel like even if the Democrats do get back into power, people have a goldfish memory, and they like to blame the economy on the current president and the current people in power, even if, the bad state of it is due to the previous administrations. I just don't know how long we're going to be able to hold on to that.
Well, it's worked for 250 years. We'll see. But thanks
I
for
guess
calling
we
in,
will.
man. Okay.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Hello, you're live.
Yo,
Yo.
thanks for having me. Real quick, I just want to say one thing. I love all the Trump supporters talking about the American citizens that were drone strike. One thing though, they never mention the name, whereas with like Riley Gaines or any other victim of like illegal immigrants, Laken Riley, we heard, how many freaking times they'll always say the name, except for when it's sufficiently un-American that they know they would undermine their whole point. So that's one thing. Secondly, Anwar al-Awlaki, he did not get due process in the typical sense, but he was on a CIA kill list, a publicly produced list, for about a year. And I believe his father was even suing the government to dispute his placement on that list. So I agree, it's maybe not the level of due process that we'd expect normally, but I do think that's sufficiently different than blowing up random fishermen or suspected narco terrorists in Venezuela with no other information about them.
I
Like,
will.
I would.
I will say that. I will say that that is disturbing, right? The drone striking of. I can't pronounce his name. You know his name. You just. Said
Yeah, you're good.
Um,
Don't worry.
I think that there is. It's legally fraught. And morally, I think it's reprehensible, to be clear. I don't think it should have happened in a moral level. Legally, it's a very good question, and I think there's a very strong arguments that it was an illegal strike, right? However, all that said, we have a clear indication of illegality in the Venezuelan, the second strike situation with the shipwreck survivors, the alleged narco terrorist shipwreck survivors.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas there's arguments about Obama and how he conducted that. This one is clear cut. It's not even a question. And a lot of people are showing their whole asses by trying to compare these two situations. They're not the same in any way, shape, or form. Right? They're fundamentally different contexts in which these things are taking place. And I think that
I agree.
It is I guess we're just agreeing with each other here, right? So I think it's just silly to try to compare them, but go on.
And one other thing I'll add, the gentleman who was drone striked, he had a daughter who also died a few years later in a raid in Yemen in 2017, ordered by Donald Trump. So she was also an American citizen. And yeah, we don't really hear about her much. It wasn't a drone strike, granted. It was like a troops on the ground raid, I believe, but it's still pretty crazy killing 8-year-olds. Anyway, with that out of the way, I do wanted to say a quick thing about the debate.
Go ahead.
I do think, I'll give you a lot of credit. Moderating is a hard job. I don't think people appreciate that. I do agree you're in a tough spot where you don't want to influence one side or the other because people will bitch and moan and whatever else. But I do think one thing you should do more is after someone does their whole yap non-answer and you feel like they didn't answer the question, I think the most neutral way to point that out is to say, okay, you said a lot, but the question was this. Can you summarize your answer in 1 or 2 sentences? Because as soon as you say that and they're unable to do that and they go back into the yap fest, I think it makes it a lot clearer. And I understand your strategy for being more hands off, but then when you require,
but y'all are acting as if I had a room to get a word in edgewise between Destiny, Good Logic, Soy Pill, and Bronca, right? I tried several times to get a word in edgewise, and it was hard as a moderator to do so. They just kept talking, right? I had to mute Soy Pill a couple times during the show, right? Because he wouldn't stop.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So
listen,
again,
if you use that mute button, man, mute
hold
everyone.
on, just real quick.
Just do it.
Just real quick.
Yeah, sorry.
To do what you want me to do would require Destiny to shut the fuck up.
No, just mute his ass. Fuck him. Yeah.
But he was doing what you wanted me to do. He was the one doing it. He was the one saying, you haven't answered my question. And as long as someone's saying it, I think it's perfectly fine to let just Destiny do it.
I get what you're saying, but I feel like there's a difference between a participant in the debate doing it and the moderator doing it. Because
Okay.
I feel like when the participant in the debate does it, it makes it seem like they're being tricksy and like avoiding the question or like interrupting too much, and it puts them in a weird spot. You know what I mean?
Sure. But Destiny didn't
Obviously,
feel
you
like
don't
he
need to
was in
help
a
him out.
weird
I'm not saying
spot.
he needs
Like,
help. Yeah.
He was. I don't understand. But yeah, I just think that you guys are just. I'll be real. I think that you guys are just wanting Destiny to be able to go full hog and slaughter his opponents. And gang, he was doing fine. He didn't need my help.
No, I disagree completely. Like, I would have been totally fine if you told him to shut the fuck up and
I
stop interrupting
did
a few
tell him to
times.
shut the fuck up a couple times.
And you did, to be fair, you did. But like, if you took a little bit more active role and like just muted everyone a few times and said, this is the question, people, who aren't answering the question, shut the hell up, and then unmute and try that again. I think that would be effective. But
I don't know.
it's your show, man.
Yeah,
You
it
do
is
your
my
thing.
show. But no, thank you for giving your input, and it is valued and things like that. Oh, I don't mind people having issues, by the way. I just want to make that clear. I like to fight, which is fine, right? But I don't hold it against you or anything like that. I want to make that clear. I do have an issue, and luckily no one's been well, maybe not luckily, but no one's come on with this yet, or at least they haven't been brave enough yet to come on with this. But the criticisms that I do have issue with are the people who are in chat and Reddit and all these things saying that I'm MAGA. Don't you dare put that on me, right? I am
listen to those people.
Trying to tell me I'm MAGA because I I tried to let these two people speak. That's crazy. And
I will say to steelman that slightly, I do think there's a phenomenon where like people try and be neutral, but when one side is like breaking the rules constantly, neutrality implicitly favors them. So I think the people saying you're MAGA are silly, but I do think when you try and be very hands off, you do give more credence to the side that's okay breaking rules, and that happens to be MAGA people at the moment.
okay, well, I'll talk to you later, okay, buddy?
Yeah, have a good one.
Let's now that we're on the subject, okay? Because I want you guys to see what I'm talking about, okay? Because a lot of people are like, "Who's saying that? Who's the ones doing this? So you're just accusing us of all doing these things." I want you guys to, and this may be a little petty, okay? But indulge me, kings and queens. We're gonna read this criticism from DGG, okay? Let me make it so you guys can see it. Okay. Why isn't it working? Why am I not labeled? Just being weird. Okay, whatever. This is as close we're gonna get. Wick, at least they spell my name right, which is props to them. Okay. Wick needs to grow up. Okay. I can't stand the way he moderates these debates and interjects all the time. Yes, Destiny was interrupting, but only because GL, good logic, was not answering the question at all. I don't think it's good moderation to say, let him finish completely ignoring the question you asked. But hey, that's just me. I also feel like he has such a blind spot for MAGA, and I have no idea why. Before we get into other comments on here and things like that, I really want you to kind of sit with this. You guys who saw this whole stream, right? Most of you watch a lot of my content. I am constantly criticizing MAGA all the time. To a great extent. Most of my content, right? Most of my statements have been critical of President Trump, of MAGA, of the Republicans, that whole thing. So to look at my show and to think that I have a blind spot for MAGA boggles my mind. I don't understand how anyone could come away with that impression. And then we have like, oh, that's me calling him out, right? It says, it's the basic bitch of moderation where you just nitpick about the allocated time for people. The real Giga Chad moderation is when you make people answer questions, skirting past their obfuscation. That's real hard to do since you have to be rhetorically proficient and understand both points of view. You also need to actually think MAGA is bad, which is a bridge too far for a whole wiki. Like this whole idea that I don't think MAGA is bad, and this holding to account, and then they say this again. I like the blood sports. My criticism is that Wick was not actually holding the cons to account. Like the accountability. This is going to be one of those words that I grow to hate. Okay. Accountability. You got to hold them accountable, because when I say that, it seems to be that I am saying something completely different than what these people are saying, right? I don't understand what they want me to do to hold these people to account. Ban them from my channel if they don't answer like I want them to? That's crazy. I don't know. It just bothers me. It doesn't bother me that much, but it bothers me a little. And I figure it's worth talking about. Okay. I did, General Grievous. I put it, I'll show you. I said, fight me. This is me. I said, fight me. You won't. Call answer tomorrow, soy boy. Come tell me why you think I have a blind spot for MAGA. Predicting it now, I'll make you look foolish, so you will not come on. But if you don't, you're now content. And he is. And I did. And just another Wick W, because he hasn't come on. He hasn't showed his, well, maybe he did. What is his name? Guilty Trainer? Okay. He hasn't showed his damn face. Okay. He still has a little bit of time. Still has about 30 minutes. But he ain't here. Unless this is him. Maybe it's him. Oh, I don't know. Hello. Hello. You're deafened, buddy. Oh no. There he goes. Hold on, give me. Hello. You gotta undeafen. Okay, you can hear me? You're muted on your end, buddy. If you're trying to talk. You gotta unmute yourself. I can't unmute you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. What's up?
Wonderful. Hang on, let me mute the stream itself so that I'm not talking to you 2 times in a row.
Sure.
So there is a really amazing book. It's more of a pamphlet that a professor at the Harvard Research Institute of Philosophy and History wrote. His name is Lee McIntyre. It's called On Disinformation. And it's a really clean and tight pamphlet on the specific tactics that MAGA uses when they are being bad faith in a debate. And I think that I would totally encourage every person who wants to make a big difference, like in the conversation, to peruse the pamphlet. It's pretty short. It's very small. It's shorter than like Timothy Snyder's On Tyranny.
Okay.
But essentially what he lines out is really quick lists, bullet lists of the worst crimes that they commit, the most frequent crimes that they commit, rhetorically speaking, right?
Sure.
I'm gonna I have my journal in front of me. I think I still have my notes from it. I just loaned this book to a friend, so I'm only working off of my personal notes. But I think that when people are asking you to like get more involved in moderation, it goes exactly to what I think his name was the Snail G was talking about, where he says that neutrality tends to favor rule breakers, right? And so I think that if you wanted to kind of get and like I don't want to say this and make it seem like do your fucking homework, Wick. Like that's not what I'm coming on stream to say.
You can if you
but
want.
I am
mean,
coming
it's
on
fine.
stream to say that like I think that if you wanted to kind of get a quick rundown of some of the stuff to keep your eye out for, because if you're not trained to do rhetorical analysis, it's really hard to notice exactly what rules are being broken and when. And like we don't love you because you know prop logic, right? We love you because you're cool and you host the stream and you're even-handed and you're nice to everybody and you help us like share ideas together. But a little bit of prop logic and a little bit of rhetoric training tends to help. Um, and so here I found it. So that the 5 biggest problems of like MAGA rhetoric is going to be like cherry picking evidence. They're going to push conspiracy theories without evidence. They're going to use like fully illogical circular reasoning. They're going to appeal to fake experts, and they're going to set impossible expectations for proof of their opponent's claims. Right. So that's
I
5
don't.
really quick bullet points
Yeah, just
that we can like go for it.
Just real quick. I don't disagree with any of that, and I recognize many of these things. I see it all the time from a lot of people, right? Especially MAGA on my show. I think that the disagreement that we're going to have, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can correct me, is what response should we have when the other side is doing this? And what response or what action or inaction should a moderator take when one side is engaging in this and the other either is not or is failing to point it out and things like that. I think I said it earlier, and I'll repeat it. If no one had been pointing out the non-answers that were given, then I think it's perfectly fine to hold me accountable and say, hey, you should have actually pointed this out. But the issue that I have with this criticism is that it was being pointed out. The interlocutors that I had chosen to face these other individuals were doing well. Why should I put my hand in there?
I think that that's a really good question. I think it's important to wonder exactly like where the line is for mediation. I think that when it comes to answering that question, you have to decide for yourself what your goals are exactly. I think that if you want to have a stream or a show that is more oriented to bringing people together and like having as many episodes as possible, you're going to want to be a little bit lighter handed and let your interlocutors kind of moderate each other. But if you're more interested in pursuing like the truth and like giving platform to the truth and like making sure that that's the focus, which will lose you viewers, Wick, that's just how things go, then repeating that moderation, like obviously people like Destiny and people like Soypill are going to be like, you didn't answer my question, right? They're capable of doing that. They're good at pointing it out. But I think that there are good times when Destiny is, because Destiny's a fucking interrupter, and like bless his heart, he'll never stop. But like his interruption is frankly often with the desire of pointing out the untruth of his interlocutors.
And I
right?
understand I understand that that's the desire, and I don't think that he's doing it just because he wants to interrupt. Usually, there are times. I do, however, disagree that I think that that's a trap that sometimes we fall into, right? That we want to stop the people from saying the thing that we know is wrong. And I fall into this too. I interrupt people a lot on my show. And when you've seen me debate, I don't know if you've seen me actually debate, I interrupt a lot. It's something I try to stop myself from doing, but it's hard when someone's saying something that's not true. I want to interrupt. That's kind of like my natural kind of reaction to these things. But the problem is that does not look good to the audience. It makes you look like you are trying to cut off the other person from speaking. And it's something where you have to do it in moderation for it to be the most effective. That isn't to say that what Destiny did wasn't effective. I simply think, in my criticism here, is it could have been more effective had he toned down the interruptions and kept it more like strategic.
I think that that's something that he can and should work on, and I think he does a little bit better in like in-person events for stuff like that. But like, I guess that's the real heart of what I think is, and like, it's just my opinion, but I
Well,
think
yeah.
that
I mean,
hearing
this
the
is an opinion show.
moderator
We're
and the
all having
host,
our
well,
opinions, right? So it's all good.
true. Hearing the moderator say like, "Hey, man, you're kind of cherry picking evidence right now. Like, you're not addressing the XYZ evidence that we can all see, or you're appealing to someone who isn't truly an expert in this issue, or like you're making a claim that you don't have evidence for. Like we're all like hearing that from the moderator is a lot more consequential, I think, than hearing it from from fucking Destiny.
I don't know if that's actually true, because one of the things that I've seen on my comments, at least to this, from the right wing, right? Because it's not just the DGG in the left wing that has comments for me on this and criticisms for me on this. It's they think that I did a terrible job because I didn't mute Destiny and Soy Pill more. They think I should have stopped them from talking even more than I did, and they think I put my thumb on the scale for them, and I facilitated them just running roughshod over the right. And
And to
I
be
think they're
clear,
wrong.
so that
I
I
think they're
understand
wrong,
what
to
you're
be
saying,
clear, right?
I
But
agree that they're wrong. Just so I understand it, these are people who you're saying are having this opinion, and those are MAGA people who
yeah,
have the opinion.
the MAGA people who are on the right and watching my show. So if I had gone in and been the one, as you said, to say, hey, you haven't answered this question. Hey, Destiny, stop speaking for a minute, because I want to say what you're about to say. You can't. You got to rephrase this. You got to try again because you were non-responsive. I don't think that would have changed a single one of their minds. I don't think any of their criticisms would have gotten different. I don't think they would have been like, oh, now I see. I just don't think that would have
I
happened.
agree with that. And like I come from kind of a radical corner of like rhetoric and an approach to this problem where I just think that it's useless to engage with MAGA. So I applaud your good faith and your charity.
Yeah.
Because I don't do that and I won't do that. And so thanks for doing that, because it seems like maybe somebody should be.
Why? Yeah.
I'm-
Why?
I think
Can I just ask real quick? Why? Why won't you? And when you mean engage with MAGA, what do you mean?
So what I mean is I don't think it's worthwhile to discuss politics with MAGA voters who are not like directly related to your life. So like I
Okay.
talk a little bit about politics occasionally with my dad who voted for Donald Trump 3 times. But anytime I learn that someone in my like workplace or in the Walmart or on the streets or whatever, if they tell me that they're MAGA, I just gently like gaslight them away from ever talking to me about politics. And the reason for that is because MAGA people are in a death cult, and you can't cult deprogram people away from their cult beliefs. You can only they did not reason themselves into believing what they believe, and they will not reason themselves out of believing what they believe. I do, however, think it is valuable to make a mockery of them on public platforms and make their ideas sound really retarded as often as possible. So thanks for doing that.
Oh, I don't. That's the thing. They do.
Oh, no, they do
Allowing
it for
them
you.
to speak uninterrupted is what I think is the strongest argument for my side, is just allowing Republicans to just go off. I think that makes there's a what did Napoleon say? Never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. For example, in the debate on Sunday, when you had Bronca give his answer about shipwrecks, why would I interrupt him saying that?
Yeah.
I would just, before I let you go, because we got a couple other callers I gotta get to.
Please, yeah.
And again, I don't you can just ignore me if you want, right? But I would encourage you to actually engage with MAGA at least a little bit more, because I do think we all have a responsibility to at least make it known that, hey, this is what we believe, this is what I think is happening in the world, and you don't have to be a dick about it, obviously, but I do think that there is something to be said about being a light on the hill, right, that others can see and know that they're not alone. Does that make sense?
I respect that.
Okay.
Obviously, I've got my, I got my criticism of it, but
sure.
Today's not the day. Call me back if you want to talk more about it. Have a good one, Wick. Appreciate you.
Hello, you're live.
Yo. Hey, what's going on?
Oh, you know, living life. What's up?
I was watching the stream. I felt bad that you felt bad. So I wanted to come on, show a little bit of support.
I don't feel that bad, to be clear. But go on.
No, I know. But I mean, still, I mean, even a little bit of bad is like still like I don't know. I'm an old school DGGer. And, I just want to say I love you.
Thank you.
I think there's still like a solid group of us that still support you. But I don't know. DGG just has its haters. I actually wanted to come on to tell you a story that I think is relevant to your predicament. If that's okay.
Go ahead. Quick story though.
I'll keep it quick. Like,
go ahead.
So like this guy Mula, right? The story is called the Judgment of the People. This guy Mula goes into town, and his son is riding his donkey, and people start making comments like, "Oh my God, like the son is being so cruel. He's making his dad walk." The son's like, "Okay, I'll get off, and Dad, you get on." And so people are like, "Oh my God, like this dad is being such a jerk to his son." And so he's like, "Okay, we'll both get on the donkey." People start crying. They're like, "Oh my God, that poor donkey." And so they both get off. And people are like laughing at them. They're like, "Oh, these idiots. Like one of them could be riding that donkey." And like the moral of the story is if you live your life in accordance with like the judgment of other people, not only will you be miserable, but they'll still judge you. Like just like you can't escape that. So like I feel like what you were saying.
You know what I
like,
can do
well,
though?
when I do this.
You know what I can do though? I can monetize that bitch. And I can make content out of it. That's what I can do, right? Like, we can. This is a thing that. Here's the thing. Like, when I get criticism, and when any of you are getting criticism, and if you have a platform, turn that criticism into money, and it won't feel so bad. That's all I gotta say. But no, that's a good story. Well, it's funny. It's a good anecdote, and I will probably steal that from you and use it.
By all means,
at other
please
places.
do. Okay. It's not my story to give. It's from like the 13th century.
Oh, cool. What else you got? Anything else?
Nothing much. I just I'm just like wondering, like, is there any community that doesn't just have people in it that are like just gotta complain about something?
It's
like, I feel like it's just the nature of the internet.
People are people. That's what we do. We complain. If you have more than 3 people in a group, someone's complaining. So
it's that's really true. It's like, what's that saying? It's like 4 people walk in, it's like 8 different opinions or something.
Something like that. But hey, I'll let you go. Thank you for calling in. Yeah. Have a great day. Okay, bye.
Yeah, I'll see you around.
Hello. You're live.
What is up, man? How you doing?
Oh, we keeping it real. How you doing?
Not too bad, dude. I feel like I came on here a long time ago, and
I've recognized, like, Roan was a old school wicker, right? And you've been on my show like a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So yeah, I know it's been a minute. It's cool to see that you're still doing stuff. A lot of people like kind of give up after a while.
I'm stubborn,
but
yeah. But go on.
Yeah, I respect that. I guess I just wanted to know, like, I've been listening to stream like on and off, and I haven't been busy with real life stuff, so I haven't been following the online crazy shit that goes on all the time. So I might be not up to date on everything, but I'm just curious, like, when you're moderating a debate, like you were talking to, I forgot her name, but you were talking to someone a little bit ago about like interrupting, and like where you find it appropriate to interrupt and where not, and that kind of thing. Like, what is your like guiding principle? Like when you're going in and you're like,
I don't have a rubric if that's what you're asking. Like, there's no, of course, like official rubric where I'm ticking off boxes and things like that. It is partially vibes based. During the conversation, do I feel that one side is dominating the talk time? And if I do, I will try to give the space for the other side to get more time to flesh out their ideas. And when during the Sunday debate, Soy Pill and Destiny were interrupting far more than I thought was okay. And so that's why I continuously interrupted them to try to kind of like, okay, no, you got to let them finish what they had to say. Now, that's not to say that no interruptions ever. Obviously not, right? I think interruptions and
Right.
back and forth are fine, but this you gotta balance.
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
man.
and that totally makes sense. I guess more like what I'm asking is like, do you interrupt with the goal of like purely equalizing the conversation, or do you interrupt with the goal of like clarifying? Because I feel like the 9 times out of 10 when I want an moderator to interrupt like a dialogue that's happening, it's mostly because they're talking about like it's like one person's. You know, like when they're
Yeah,
arguing, but
no,
they're not
I get
actually
it.
arguing with the point. You know what I mean?
Well,
And I feel like
I interrupt when there's lack of clarity. When I don't
Yeah.
know what is being said and I can't understand what is being said, I will often interrupt to say, "Hey, when you use this acronym, what do you mean?" Because that'll happen sometimes. Some people will use a technical term or a legal term or some jargon that I'm just not I'm just unfamiliar with, or I think that my audience might be unfamiliar with, and I will allow them to go in and kind of like, "What do you mean by that?" The second time I will interrupt is when someone is just dodging constantly. The reason I didn't Sunday is because Destiny and Soypill were calling that out. So why would I need to interrupt Destiny and Soypill? Were
Yeah,
doing it?
and that brings me to my next question. So like when you make that decision to not interrupt, like because you feel like that side is
It's being
kind of
handled.
doing yeah, right. It's like it's being handled. You mentioned when you were talking to that other girl a little bit ago, like you're worried about like you're kind of worried about the optics, like when you're interrupting and like
Mhm.
how you're utilizing that power as a moderator, right?
Yeah, obviously,
How do you
it would
balance?
just to get on the same page here, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that it matters that an audience or the guests feel that the moderator is being fair?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. So that is why I try to balance and be fair or at least, right, look fair and feel fair so that not only the audience, but the guests feel that they have had a fair shot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like here's my criticism.
Go ahead.
So when I listen to some of the debates that you've moderated, again, I'm not up to date. It's been like a few weeks or months maybe before like last time I watched a full debate. So you might have gotten better at this, but I feel like a lot of the times when you're interrupting, it feels like you interrupt at a reasonable point, but then the interruption just involves like a very drawn out like kind of clarification of like a much more superficial point of the conversation that was happening.
Can you give me an example?
I can't, and I came in here on a whim, so like I wish I
Okay.
had an example. I'm gonna try to find you one, and I'll send it to you.
Please,
So, like,
because
really,
you understand how it's hard to engage with
it
that.
totally is. Yeah,
Because I
100%.
don't.
I totally
I mean,
understand.
you could be entirely 100% correct. I just
yeah.
don't know.
I guess like when. So did you by chance did you watch the debate? Destiny. I was listening to it at work. Like Destiny moderated a debate between like a red pill guy and some other like, British girl.
I watched portions of it, but I found it boring and I left.
I found it. If I wasn't working at the same time, I would have been in the same boat. But like the main thing I took away from that debate is I feel like Destiny utilized his moderation interrupting power super effectively, in my opinion. Even though the content of the debate, I kind of was checked out for most of it. But like he would just interrupt and like completely clarify what either side was saying if they were talking past each other. And like, but by clarify, I mean like he would ask specifically like, "What are you getting at?" Let them respond.
Maybe I saw a different portion of the debate, but
yeah,
during the portion I watched, which was near the end, he didn't say anything. He didn't interrupt at all. He was simply playing his video game.
No, he was 100%. Like he interrupted multiple times. Like
okay, I might have just missed that portion. Like I said, I only tuned in for a little bit. So
yeah, but like I feel like like I said, I'll try to find an example for you. But like I mean, I really like what you're doing. You're getting a lot of interesting people. You're getting a lot of cool conversations. And I just like sometimes I feel like the interruptions are just like wait, come on, this is not like what the thing is about. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'll try.
Maybe
I'll try to find an
I'm not here saying I'm like the guy who never makes a mistake or moderates perfectly. Obviously not. In like, look, there are sometimes you make a call and you make the wrong call.
Yeah.
It's just, but at another time, like I would rather when I interrupt, it's because sometimes I just want to say something, and I'll be real with you. If I'm bored of the conversation,
Yeah.
I will interrupt to try to spice it up or change it up or things like that because I'm bored. And if it's not
That's
boring you, that's
understandable.
fine. But
That's understandable, but
My
like, come
show.
on, from an optic standpoint,
Right.
you know that that's fucking crazy. Like,
why is that?
doesn't
Why is
make
that
you look
crazy?
more-
If I'm
This doesn't
bored,
make you
it's
look
likely my
favorable,
audience
right?
is bored too. Correct?
Well, if you think your audience is bored, I mean, you're not polling them, being like, "Are you guys bored?" Poll. I mean, like I feel
Yeah,
like
but I
sometimes
do
you're
have
kind
an
of-
eye. Like I have two monitors and I have chat on one side, right? And I'm reading what you
Sure.
guys are saying, and I'm kind of judging the vibe, and I'm also watching what the interlocutors, how they're reacting, whether they're paying attention, because sometimes you realize and you recognize that the people who are talking just aren't into it. And
Yeah.
I like people who are into it. So
That's fair. All right, man.
Okay.
I love you.
Hey, talk to you later, man.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Is that all the callers we have for today? Is that all the callers we have for today? I don't know. I just like again, I recognize and I'll cop to this. I'll cop to this. If I'm bored, I will put my thumb into the pie. Okay? Because I don't want to be bored. I don't want to sit here and listen to a conversation that isn't going anywhere or is talking about things that I don't care about, especially on a show that I'm putting together on a topic that I'm putting together most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, because I'm interested in discussing it. I'm interested in hearing it discussed. One of the benefits of being a host is I get to choose what we talk about, right? I get to choose, at least partially, and I would say a large part is me choosing this, is I get to decide, like, hey, what topics do I want to cover and what do I want? What do I not want to cover? That's why you won't see me usually talk about, like, drama slop. I just don't give a shit. Oh, so-and-so said something on Twitter about so-and-so. Oh, no. I don't care. I don't care. I don't give a shit. That's boring to me. Not always. We've made some exceptions. But there are always ones that I'm particularly interested in for whatever reason. There are certain topics like flat earth. A lot of people sometimes ask me, why don't you do flat earth debates? A lot of flat earthers have said, well, I want to debate you on flat earth, or I want to debate someone on your show on flat earth. I just don't care about that debate. That debate's not interesting to me. I have no interest in hearing the pros and cons of flat earth. I don't care. I don't give a shit. It's not fun. There's a few other topics like that, right? There I'm just like, fucking, I don't care. I don't know. It's just, maybe it's selfish. But gang, I'm of the belief that if you aren't enjoying what you're doing, no one else is going to enjoy it either, right? And people can say. And I want to make sure that I'm having fun because God knows you guys don't pay me enough. And you should pay me more. If you've enjoyed this stream, if you like the show, hit that super chat, or hit that super chat button. Send me a super chat. Throw me some gift subs on Twitch. Like the stream, subscribe, all that. Is there anything else anyone else had to say? Oh, we have one more caller. Hello. Hello.
Howdy.
Hi, what you got?
Hey, so I actually, I do want to first say, I thought you did really well moderating that debate. In all honesty, I thought that was maddening and entertaining. But I don't really have criticisms. I think like when you have people, like I have friends, like I have a friend that comes from a law enforcement background, and they have that saying that's if someone wants to like, where like the best thing you can do is just say nothing and let like the other person incriminate. You said something interesting, I think, with the previous guy where you asked him, do you think as a moderator it's your job to like what do you think as a moderator it's your job to make the audience feel like your role is to appear fair or be fair? Well, I think you said appear fair, and you said I think you said like yes.
Yes, I think that the people one of the moderator's tasks is to make sure that not only the interlocutors, but the audience feel that each side got a fair shot.
Okay. Yeah, I go back and forth on that one sometimes because I don't know if you're a sports guy. I'm a sports guy, and so sports have refs. And like, I think one of the questions of like, what does a ref do? Is a ref there to give people the assurance of like fairness, or are they there or to make people feel like the thing is fair?
Not
or are
the
they
thing
there
is
to
fair,
like enforce?
but that there is a fair kind of underlying set of how things are going to be adjudicated and treated. And I think the referee is there to ensure that there is a fair following of the rules.
Okay. Okay. I think I agree with that. To put it simply, like to enforce the rules, right?
Sure. Yeah. In very simple terms. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay. I think I interpreted your answer to be like the job of like what you were saying was the job of the moderator was to assure, like to make people feel like.
Now, to be clear, I think that unlike sports, right, where the teams are already kind of pre-made, like I am putting together the teams as I go, right? Like when I invite people on, I usually will invite one side and I'll invite specific people, and I'll invite the other side, I'll invite specific people. There is some level of responsibility I have to make sure that the level of interlocutor is on par or as close to on par as I can make it with the other side. So it would be like me inviting a Supreme Court lawyer expert on one side and on the other side having a coughing baby, right? Like that would not be fair.
Well, I mean, what if that coughing baby's going up against
yeah, sure. You know what I mean, though, right? Like, you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
is that each side should have representation that is at least as good or as close to as I can get it. It's never a perfect thing as the other side.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess I'm curious what you think. So when I think of like what a moderator, like the two goals of a moderator, I think like the first one, I think there's two, and the first one I think of is foster a good faith debate, ensure that people are engaging in good faith.
Why is that my responsibility? Like, hold on, I don't know if I agree with that they're both being good faith. I don't know if I'd agree that that's one of the responsibilities of the moderator. I could be convinced, but I don't think it is. Like if I get people on and one of the sides wants to be bad faith, I think first of all, it's obvious that they're being bad faith. I think everyone can see they're being bad faith. And if they want to do that, they can. Is it my responsibility to stop them being bad faith?
I think it's a fair question. I think like the way I look at it is I think you're trying to achieve two things. Like just I'm moving away from just moderator, but from like content creator. One is like like an entertaining product.
Yeah.
Right. And then, but also two, and I think this may be like more personal to the individual content creator, but also like I'll like narrow it down to learn, to have like an interesting, to see if people can get something interesting from this thing.
Sure. I don't mind that. Like I want to do that in many cases.
Yeah, so it's per content creator
thing. It depends on like here's a problem with answering your question here or engaging with this is because depending on the show I want to put on, it's going to vary what I want. So there are some times where I absolutely just want a shit show. That is by design a shit show. A lot of times I'll do this with men versus women shit. My whole goal is to watch them fight. Okay? I'm not here for learning anything. I'm here to make them mad and monetize the shit out of it. Okay? And I usually am fairly open about this, right? That's what we're here for. But there are other times where I do actually want, I actually care about this topic and I want to hear what people have to say and I want to make sure that we have good representation from each side. where I take it more seriously. And then there are other shows like today where I just call in. It's like, call in and chat with me, right? So it varies. It's a wide variety of things.
Okay, that's fair. I'm curious, like, what was the where did that conversation
The
fall
Sunday
in,
one? The Sunday
like-
one was I wanted to hear what people had to say from both sides, and I got the strongest people I could find for both sides.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, okay. So I think like going off of like specifically like that one, like I think the reason, like the answer I would give to when you threw it back at me and you were just like, what do I mean by like foster good faith debate, ensuring like that people like are engaging in good faith is I think you can achieve the entertaining part with people not engaging in good faith. Because that can be very entertaining. But like if there is an aspiration for are we going to have an interesting conversation people can learn from? Like if you do have someone who's there engaging in like bad faith, like are we achieving that latter goal? And like maybe the answer can be yes, if the sense of like it's just so obvious that obviously you're just going to learn something from that person's reaction. But I like to see it's like like an interesting like it's an interesting thing to consider. I'm curious what you think about like also like the second thing I wanted to put for like a goal of a moderator, which was like ensuring that everyone's working off a single source of truth, like a similar fact-based pattern. Like the example I'd use of like maybe, well, not a maybe, of like that being broken in that debate was the shipwreck comment. Like at that point, you're just changing the definition of words in the dictionary.
Do you understand? Like the shipwreck comment came in because I used and cited the DOD, the single source, right? And then I asked Andrew about that single source. So we were working off the single source I was citing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that. Yes, I think there are times where you do have to like, okay, this is the article, or this is the event, or this is the set of facts, right? But even then, if they want to make a silly answer about, well, the shipwrecks don't count unless they're natural, you can make that point. You just look stupid doing so.
Only naturally occurring shipwrecks count. Yeah, no, I was just curious. Like I said, man, I thought like I actually thought you did a really good job. I was surprised to hear that people were yelling at you. I was just curious. Like
they're yelling at me in chat right now. They're saying I'm helping the enemy, whatever that means. This is. I'm sorry. It's just so crazy. Like I'm like, what medications are you guys on to think that me having these debates that allows MAGA to come up here and say what they think helps them? Do you think this helps them? I don't. It's crazy. I don't know. But
Have you considered the medications hydroxychloroquine?
Man, I don't know. But thanks for calling in. Is there anything else you had before I let you go?
No, that's all good. I was curious, like your thoughts on that. You gave me your thoughts. I thought those were really well considered, and I thought you did a really good job, man. So thank you so much.
Okay, no problem. And thank me by giving me money. I'll talk to you later. Bye. No, it's okay. Like, look, I know. I understand. I get it. That people were going to be like, well, Wick is complaining. That must mean he hates us. No, I don't. I just, like, I don't know. I want to be able to have a conversation where I just vent sometimes. And I'm venting. There's nothing particularly wrong, I think, with venting. Not usually. Depending on how. And I don't know, I think it's an interesting, it's being brought up enough that I find it interesting to talk about. And so I will talk about it. And it's a call-in day, and look, this week's slow on content, okay? We're going to have the call-in show, and I think we got one other show this week on Thursday. So if you guys want to have a Dev versus the world, you guys know Short Fat Otaku, Dev, we're going to have him in the hot seat. Gauntlet style, gang, where he's going to be taking all comers. They're going to be challenging him on his takes on DEI, on his takes on January 6th, on his takes on Venezuelan strikes, on his takes on all and sundry, okay? And if you have a problem with Dev and you want to call in about it and yap about it with him, Thursday's the day to do that, and it should be fun. It should be great. We got some people lined up. I'm hoping we get some more people lined up. It should be a good time. Should be a good time. But yeah, this idea that platforming the enemy helps the enemy, no, I don't think that's true. I think that no one is going to be coming away from these shows that convinced that the right wing did a good job on that debate. I don't think they will. But I don't know. Is Dev anti-DEI? Yes, Dev is anti-DEI. He has a anti-DEI take. Hello, Cervantes. Cervantes, we're playing. Everyone's calling in and yelling at me about my show. It's DGGers who are mad, pretty much. Hello, you're live. Hello, you're live.
Give me 1 second to mute the stream.
Okay, sure.
Howdy, Wick. How's everything going?
Well, we're doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So, I think you've done a really good job of moderating. Like,
but
I do have a problem with what the first person said. With this is a MAGA issue. It's not a MAGA issue. This is a debate issue. Like, even going back to some of the debates that Destiny's had, where he's been really squirrely. I think we can all remember the conversation about him just tweeting about those fucking children that deserve to be no, let me step back. That the reason that they drowned is because they were watching porn, because he thought it would be hilarious to make fun of them.
I forget the exact
yeah.
I forget the exact whatever, the phrase.
Yes, I'm trying to intentionally not make it sound crazier than it is, but that is like the thesis of it. And for that entire debate, he was being very squirrely, very evasive, and a lot of things, especially when he talked about, we need to fucking fight back and we need to do whatever we can to stop MAGA. Like, this is an issue that both sides have. So I think you're doing a great job moderating. The problem is, like, people have biases. They want to see their side winning. So if they feel like you're moderating against them, they will intrinsically feel like you are biased towards the other side.
What can you do? Like, this is, look, one of the secret rules of a moderator is to take the shit, right? Is to take the shit off the side that loses, right? Is to act as a sacrificial lamb, where you can put the sins of your side's debate, and you can levy all the sins, blame the moderator for it, and so you the interlocutor can just kind of get away with it scot-free, and you can be just like, well, the moderator was against me, so that's why I lost. That's the secret role of moderator, and that's why a lot of people will choose moderated debates, is because it's like a get out of jail free card in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, I think you're doubling down on the struggle, because you're doing a 2v2 debate, because one person interrupting one other person, that's much easier to moderate. But two people both trying to talk when they're on the same side, and they're both trying to also interrupt the other two guys that are also interrupting each other. So, like, this is like 8 times more difficult.
I don't know. 2 and 2. Look, there are personalities that even on a one-on-one would be hard to moderate, right? They're very powerful personalities or strong personalities. That's not always a good thing, by the way. There are some people who have what I would consider less strong personalities, but I think that are masterful at kind of showcasing the power of their argument without having to dominate the conversation, right?
Right.
So it's just it's a give and take, right? So
yeah, no, and I appreciate you always trying to have these conversations. I think that Destiny, I don't know why he keeps coming on here to have it like his big crash outs and like screaming at MAGA and the world.
Do you know why?
But it's why? Because he feels like you'll be unbiased.
Well, I
guess
don't know if that's it. So,
Mm.
because there's a question, right? Why do people like Destiny come on my show and continue to come on my show? If you go and you look at Destiny's content, right? And you look at the times he's been on my show and he's produced a video, and you look at the content around that time, there's usually my content or his content on my show, whatever you want to frame that as, outperforms the other content. It's just more interesting when he has a foil, when he has someone who will fight against him, who won't hate him after, right? He comes on my show because he knows I'm not scared of him. I am not scared to tell him he's stupid and retarded and wrong, and that we can yell at each other and scream at each other, and that there won't be a bridge burning of that.
Yeah,
I think that's why, if I had to guess, he comes on my show.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that like Destiny probably just needs to go talk to other people that he's not adversarial with, but he can actually have a conversation with, because
he does. I mean, he goes talks to.
Feels like he's kind of radicalizing himself in a corner right now, to be honest.
No, I think I think he has gotten more radical, and we're trying to work on that. But I don't know. I think Counterpoints is trying to work on, and I think Erudite even is trying to work on him. But we'll see. I think I think that the biggest thing will be seeing the ways that I'm advocating for continue to work. I think that will draw him back in, but we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna let you go, man. Bye.
Yeah. And
okay, we got one more call. I got time for one more caller. Hey, you're the last caller. What do you got?
Hey, Wick.
Hey.
I'm gonna mute your stream real quick. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I just had a couple quick notes. I haven't heard the last couple callers, so if I start repeating something that's not interesting, just let me know, okay? First question. I know one thing that Destiny really prefers when he's debating, and one thing that I think probably helps achieve these goals we're talking about, is 1v2 or 1v3 debates. I was wondering, why don't those happen more often on your platform, and is there a reason for that? Because I know Destiny prefers it.
So my format usually isn't against the world, but I won't say most, but a good portion of the time that Destiny has come on my show, it's been set up as him versus the world. It's just not always the case, right? I think that I like to change up my formats, simply because of variety in my own entertainment and what I find interesting. And I think that we had 2v2s back to back, but the time before that, it was him versus everyone, and the time before that was also him versus everyone. So I guess the answer to your question, why doesn't it happen more often, is because I don't want it to be every time he comes on. I want it to be sometimes people want to have a partner or want him as their partner, right? So.
Okay, yeah, and that's just going to be my fault as a sporadic viewer.
No, you're
I just
fine.
thought it seemed like it was most of the time it was like 2v2s and stuff like that. But
I mean, like if you go because like he's been coming on my show for like a couple of years now, so I'm sure if you like laid it all out and you kind of went like if you took them all and you put them in a row, it might be the case that we could do more one Destiny versus the Worlds, but I don't know. There's no really specific thing.
Would you agree with me that it's it seems to be better performing content?
I don't know.
And maybe even more like pragmatic content in terms of like what we're trying to achieve here.
I don't know if it's better performing. I don't have the data to tell you because, again, most of the shows I have with him do well for him and me, right? and do better than the shows around it. But I haven't compared the shows to each other. Does that make sense? Like I haven't lined them up back to back. So I
it might
can't answer
be
your
it might be
question.
different based on like it might also be difficult to remove the variable of the against the world format and the topic as well, right? Because more different topics and different contexts are gonna outperform each other. But I know that if you go on Destiny's YouTube channel and you filter by most viewed videos, as far as the debates go, it's almost always the like 1v9,
Sure.
1v7,
And
I wanna, the old Twitter stuff.
Yeah. I want to make sure to make clear that I'm obviously not the most high performing ever content, but like for example, if you go and you look at his page right now and you see his debates that were on my channel, they outperformed the debates that happened at a similar time around there. Like
something like fully half of them are going to be your content.
Yeah, and sometimes by like 100,000, right? Like by a good portion. And even before his cancellation, quote unquote, that was the case, right? That's why he's again continuously patronized my show, is because it does well for him. It makes him money. So.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
That was your first question. What was your second?
Yeah, second question. Actually, wait, quick. Question 1.5. Okay.
Okay.
Pisco, where's Pisco at, man? Because Pisco's another one of these like.
I don't think he likes me. Yeah, I'm.
He doesn't.
I'm happy to have him on, but I get the impression that he tolerates me. I don't think he likes me, and that's fine.
Wick, let's just be honest. Most of us just sort of tolerate you.
Fair. That's fair,
but I think,
right? But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he. I don't think he takes me seriously, which is fair and fine. He can do that.
Well, that's okay. He's like Sierra Mist Destiny. So.
I mean, look,
okay. Question 2. You ready?
That's the 1.5 question. Okay. What's question 2?
Okay. Is earlier I think you were talking to Marlo, and you're talking about like what your role as a moderator is, and I think one thing that's different between you and some other moderators in the space, I can't think of many good examples, but somebody like Sarah Tomato or whatever, is that some people sort of have like the neutral arbiter aura, and some people just don't. And I think out of all the people who host debates, or who act as like a foil in these debates, you are probably one of the least. You have the worst aura as for neutrality.
Okay.
And it's not even because of how you moderate the debates. I think it's just because you also have a lot of them. And when you debate, you are not an even-handed debater. Does that make sense? Like.
What do you mean? No, elaborate on not an even-handed debater. What do you mean?
You're loud and you use ad hom and you're not afraid of that, and you're not like a moral high ground guy. Like you get into the fucking weeds.
I'll wrestle. I'll wrestle.
You jump in the shit. Okay.
I will.
You wrestle.
I will.
Right?
I'll get in on it.
Yeah. And you're not a moderate. So like you're a wrestling lefty. Okay.
No.
And I think everyone knows that.
I am a moderate, but moderate doesn't mean weak, and people need to stop equating the two. But no, my positions are pretty moderate.
No.
I'm usually arguing for a moderate position.
Arguing as a moderate. Yeah, you're never arguing as a moderate. You're always arguing as the lefty person against a righty person, because that's the kind of debates you have. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So you ended up with this this aesthetic of like an actor who's always cast in a similar role, and then so whenever you see them in a movie, like you don't see
saying I'm typecast?
the character anymore, you see the actor. So when you're moderating, even though your moderation is even-handed, I'm always hearing, in the fucking shit wick. So I don't think you can do like the neutral arbitration thing.
My aura.
And so then I wonder if like.
Okay, fair enough. Well.
Yeah, and then so I wonder if you should not just lean into lean into your dark woke, and I mean really just as a moderator assert a preference for logical consistency, and then if one of the people in your debate 90% of the time is being logically inconsistent, just call them out, and not like 50-50, not like call out both debaters, but just lean into whoever's being a fucking retard and make it known that they're being a retard as
you
the
should
moderator.
watch
you know
my
what I
show
mean?
more often. I encourage you to watch the
yeah.
Drew Pavlo debates that I hosted.
Yeah, I do watch. I mean, you host a lot of the best stuff in this space. But you do, and okay, and if you pay attention to your own chat, okay, you're gonna see a lot of people saying this, and I don't know if you just distrust them or if you don't pay
The
attention to the
chatters
chat.
are lessers,
People,
first of all. But go on.
chatters are what?
Lessers. They don't count as people, but go on.
That's true. Now callers, that's a
Yeah,
different.
no,
That's a different thing.
unironically,
So listen
yes.
to me, all right?
Yes, unironically, callers are above chatters in the
I don't know if
hierarchy.
you're so it sounds like you're not doing this consciously, okay? But you are very soft with your righties because right wingers are little babies and they have to have their hand held or else they run away, okay? And I think you're conscious of that and you are extra patient and gracious with them, so that they keep coming on your show, and that makes sense to me. But I just wonder like what the limit of that is, because at this point, so this most recent debate,
If you want to see the limit,
really,
I can
like
give
every
you
time,
I can give you an answer on
yeah,
the limit,
go.
and I give you an example. I want you to go watch the debate between Pisco and Rob Noor that I moderated, and you will see when my line get crossed, and I decide to. You'll be able to see. That's a good example, I think, of where like, oh, I'm just done, and someone has tried my patience for the very last time.
So I wonder. I'll tell you maybe what something like my standard might be, and then you tell me if you think that Rob Noor debate or whatever would satisfy me, right? So I think where my line would be is answering questions and like genuinely answering questions, right? So one thing we're having a lot of trouble with, especially recently in this last debate, is just people not responding to a question. I mean, really doing anything they possibly can to obscure from answering a question in the way that it was asked. And if you, wait, what the fuck? Holy shit, there's a
Are you okay,
laptop on the
man?
other side
Everything
of my
good?
house, and my cat just fucking started a video on a laptop in the other room. It scared the fuck out of me.
Okay, if you need to go deal with that, I can let you go deal with that, man.
Shit, sorry. No, okay, I solved it. I thought someone broke into my house, dude. I was gonna fucking scream.
That would have been crazy. Crazy catch
Yeah, it would not have
live.
been good.
Live on the
Would have been
Wick
great
TV
content.
show. Caller gets destroyed in his own house after a break-in and on the call. But go on.
But yeah, no, why not just hold somebody to answering a question for 45 minutes until they disconnect from a call,
I think that Destiny and Soypill were doing a terrific job at that. So they didn't need my help doing that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I actually think that you're doing a great job in this space. I'm just wondering, like, I mean, are you taking any of this criticism to heart here? Like,
What do you mean to
I mean,
heart?
like, do you think you should be trending in any direction in terms of like neutrality or being more heavy-handed, or do you think you're doing generally
I think
good?
Again, like, not perfect, obviously. I think that I need to use the mute button more. But other than that, I think I'm fine.
You think you should have used the mute button on Destiny and
In Soypill
what's
a
his
little
name?
more than
The
I
other
did.
guy?
Even though I did
Yeah.
mute Soypill twice, I think. I should have done it a couple more times. Yes.
I think you probably shouldn't have. Do you think you should have?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because they were interrupting more than they should have.
Do you think like all interrupting is equal?
Of course not. And a lot of the interruptions were perfectly valid and perfectly fine. But not all of the interruptions were perfectly valid and perfectly fine. And one of the problems is, with that debate, is that while you may know, and Destiny may know, what they're going to say, the audience might not. And it's important to let them say it.
It might be important. Yeah. So I mean, if it's a bad
And
argument,
I can't know whether
to let
or
your
not
opponent say,
they're
right?
going to answer the question until you let them answer the question or not. You got to give them space because sometimes people like preambles. People like to lay out context. Okay, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like the yes or no stuff. Sometimes answers take more than a yes and a no. And sometimes people need a little time to get what they have to say out. Now, again, like I said, there were times where Good Logic and the other guy obviously weren't answering the question. And I think it's fine to repeat your question and to say you didn't answer that question. But the way that Destiny and Soipa were doing it, I think that was just a little too much interruptions. That's it.
I agree. There was a few times where it was not called for. I think. What about the guy disconnecting? Do you think that was a failure of your moderation in any
No.
way? That ended
That
up
was a
coming to a head in
failure.
that way?
I'll tell you what that was a failure of. That was a failure of the guy to realize what he was getting into. Like, if you were going to go on a show for the first time, at least do some research about what's coming in. Like, again, that's on you, buddy. Like, if you were coming into the, I'll give you if I walk in, right, to a country bar, to a country music bar, right, everyone's got their country music hats on, the cowboy hats, I should say, right, and like the whole getup, and then I complain the whole time about how they're only playing country music. Whose problem is that? Is that the country bar's problem? No. That's mine. Because I went in to a country music bar and for whatever reason I wanted to listen to classical. That's just not going to fly. If it's like going on Piers Morgan and expecting a collegiate debate, what are you doing?
Yeah, I totally agree. So largely is to like to have a space here, and I mean your work, what you're doing, independent of like money and fun or whatever. I mean, there is like a political purpose to what you're doing, right? And you're trying to prevent the destruction of your fucking country
I want
fascists.
I want certain political outcomes, yes, and I want people to. I would like it if more people were more like me, morally and politically, and I try on occasion, especially on streams like these, right, where it's just me talking and yapping and things like that. I try to make a case for my political positions and for my moral side. But that's a different goal when I put together a debate panel. That's not always my goal, right? There are certain times when I don't know what I feel about a certain topic. And I will just try to, one of the ways I learn more about a topic, unironically, is by inviting people on to argue in front of me about that topic.
Do you think your videos and your content are helping in the political space, like as it stands
What do you
right
mean
now?
helping? In what way? By what metric?
I mean, like if we have two potential worlds, like one where we don't like face a fucking civilizational collapse or like the death of our democracy, right? And then one where we do. Like, do you think you're trending us in the right direction with this?
I hope so. But I don't.
So if we say that like that's the goal, right? So let's just say that that's the goal.
Sure.
Do you think like left versus right debates are more important, or do you think like strategy debates on the left are more important, like intra side debates? So what I'm thinking is like
I think it's both.
you remember the debate you hosted about like rhetoric and stuff, like how should we talk about this problem when we're dealing with MAGA versus talking to MAGA itself?
Yeah. I think both are important. I don't think you can have one without the other. I think it's important for people to be able to see what MAGA actually thinks, and the way for people to see what MAGA actually thinks is sometimes to bring MAGA on and let them say what they actually think.
Does MAGA actually think? And
you would be mistaken if you think that they have no right arguments whatsoever. That would be a echo chamber that you were in.
Well, okay,
if you
let
think
me just
that they
clarify.
don't have any
I don't
arguments.
think that they don't have arguments. I don't think that they come to their arguments independently. I think all of their arguments, and it's demonstrable that all the arguments are beamed down from the top. And
do you think
they aren't like, yeah.
Do you think you come to your reasoning conclusions just entirely independently? You are immune to propaganda?
No.
Okay. Neither are they. That's fair, right?
Do you think
and there are
do you
some
think
marching
everyone
orders
is
that go into these things. But a lot of the people that I bring on aren't the rank and file, right? They aren't the talking heads. Now, sometimes I do bring on the talking heads, right? But I want to know from their own words and from their own brains, their own thoughts, even if it mimics the thoughts of a lot of other MAGA people. I think it's important to see other people make those cases from that position. And I think it's important to watch people contend with that. And this does two things. One, it gives us an accurate accounting of what they actually think and what they actually believe. And that's important. And two, it allows us to test arguments against that and for our own side in real time. And we can see what works and what does not work, what is persuasive and what is not persuasive, what has merit and what does not. And I think that that as a test ground, as a training ground, if you will, is very
No, I think you're right. I think that is a really, really good case for having debates against MAGA. The other kind of content I was referring to is like debates where you've got your lefties talking with other lefties about political strategy or their disagreements about like specific actions they're taking or how they talk about certain
Sure.
things.
And I'll tell
right?
you why that's
And
important.
you're saying they're both important, and I think you're right. I think they're both important, but I think they're definitely not equally important. And do you think that they are?
Yes, because sometimes the biggest obstacle that the left faces, the Democrats face towards victory, are other Democrats. Sometimes MAGA doesn't have to make an argument.
That is way more important.
Hold on. MAGA doesn't have to make an argument. MAGA doesn't have to say shit because we're busy punching ourselves in the face, right? And we're making unforced errors in how we deal with a situation and how we respond to a situation. One of my major criticisms of Destiny is that he does this. He is his own worst enemy, and he is harmful to the Democratic cause when he engages in the kind of rhetoric he does around Corey Compentor or the kids in Texas or just political violence in general. I think that he is he's hurting the cause when he makes these cases. I think he's hurting the Democrats.
Oh, absolutely not.
Well, we disagree.
I mean, I
here,
can imagine why. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting. I don't know how much longer I can sit here.
We
and talk.
don't
I mean,
have a
that's
lot of
something we
time.
can
I do gotta go.
actually
really
disagree
soon,
about.
and people are saying that you have
Okay.
dinner ready. There's pizza.
Dinner ready.
Pizza.
Oh.
I don't know.
No.
People are making you
I've been
pizza.
doxxed. You tell them. Ban those fuckers, okay? Because they actually know a little bit about me, right? Okay. Yeah, I'll come and argue with that.
Okay, well, we'll have a debate another
later.
time,
It's
but
really
I'll
important.
talk to you later,
Bye.
okay, buddy? Bye.
Okay.
$20 from Zonia TV. It's a thankless job. If you mod, people will be angry. If you don't, people will be angry. Destiny and Soypill were over talking logic. A lot of runs from fights for sure. Could have done more there, but peeps would still be angry. Well, yeah, it's like no matter what you do, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? But then we can always improve. And I want to make it clear that I'm not perfect. I can always improve. And I will listen to your criticisms, but I don't have to agree with your criticism. But I will listen. You can make your case. But yeah, overall, I think that Destiny has the potential to be very rhetorically powerful. And I tend to agree with a lot of his political positions. But there are some political positions that he has that I think are harmful to the cause. And that would be better if he changed his mind or at least changed his rhetoric around it. And this isn't just for him, right? There are plenty of people who say shit that you're like, dude, stop. You're not helping. You're hurting us. Now, this happens all the time on the right. And they have their battles about that, right? And they're battling about Tucker and Fuentes and all that. I don't know. Did you guys like tonight's show? Did you guys have fun? Did you guys enjoy the call-ins? Okay. Did you guys enjoy the back and forth? I hope you did. Nope. Well, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it, but that's the show. Thursday, gang. We're going to have Dev. Sorry, I brain farted for a minute. We're going to have Short Fat Otaku Dev on my show, and he's going to be taking all comers, okay? Left, right, and center. To challenge him for his points. Short Fat Otaku versus the world. Who will be victorious? Find out Thursday. Tune in, 6 p.m. Eastern. Bring your money, bring your friends, bring your viewers, bring your likes. And I'll talk to you guys Thursday. Cool. Peace out, Girl Scouts. Bye.